Chapter 496. Seeking Heart Sutra. Qin Yun did not expect the martial emperor Dao Core he had fired to possess such a terrifying power, capable of tearing the space of the desolate domain apart. After Yang Shiyu ran out with Qin Yun, the Gold Sun sect leader and a few warriors of the spirit martial realm chased after them. There were so many people in the square of the Gold Sun sect, but only a few of them were still alive. The Nine Suns sect, Totem Pavilion, and the various large sects and families had suffered heavy casualties this time. It would be difficult for them to rise again in a short period of time. In addition, when those martial kings and Xian realm experts went to the Spirit Desolate, they also took away a lot of resources. The martial arts aristocratic families and sects in Arid Triad had also withered away for a period of time. Xiao Yun, which one do you want to deal with? Yang Shiyu asked. That Gold Sun sect leader is the strongest, leave it to me. The other guys are all injured, big sister Yang, you should be able to deal with them. Qin Yun spoke and took out the Nine Sun Divine Hammer. All right. Yang Shiyu also nodded. Qin Yun brandished the Nine Sun Divine Hammer and charged at the Gold Sun sect leader. After passing by, he used the Heavenly Lion's Roar, catching the Gold Sun sect leader off guard and causing him to fall into a state of shock. Immediately after, a set of 6 style forging dragons struck out. The powerful primordial vibration Tao energy roared and accompanied by black lightning as it charged towards the Gold Sun sect leader. When the Gold Sun sect master saw how mighty Qin Yun's aura was, he hurriedly dodged the rapid hammer strike. He was a martial artist of the spirit martial realm, but he was injured in the explosion just now. However, he was confident that he could deal with Qin Yun. But now, when he saw the extremely terrifying hammer in Qin Yun's hand, he couldn't help but be alarmed. The power of the Dao Bone. You are actually at the 8th level of the martial Dao realm. The Gold Sun sect leader was shocked. According to the information he had, Qin Yun had only stepped from the 1st level of the martial Dao to the 8th level of the martial Dao in a short period of 1 to 2 years. A guy like you actually wants to kill me to establish your might. You are looking down on me too much. Qin Yun laughed loudly and suddenly threw out a bunch of body-securing talismans. The Gold Sun sect leader was hit by the body-securing talisman, but he was not immobilized. The armor on his body blocked the power of the body-securing talisman. Qin Yun also discovered that the armor on the bodies of these people from the Nine Suns sect seemed to have the power to resist the body-securing talismans. The body-securing rune was an ancient rune, so most of the armor refined by the Nine Suns sects could withstand the body-securing talismans. Although the body-securing talisman was ineffective, Qin Yun was still confident that he could defeat the Gold Sun sect master. With the Nine Sun Divine Hammer, Qin Yun was able to unleash the power of an early-stage spirit martial realm martial artist. Coupled with a powerful martial skill, he quickly suppressed the Gold Sun sect leader. Little Lion, come out! Qin Yun suddenly used Heavenly Lion summoning technique and summoned 2 Nether Realm Heavenly Lions. After he stepped into the 6th level of the martial Dao, his black martial spirit had undergone the 2nd transformation, so his divine abilities had also increased a lot. At this moment, coupled with his 8th level martial Dao, the Nether Realm Heavenly Lion that he summoned was also very powerful. The moment the 2 Nether Realm Heavenly Lions appeared, they surrounded the Gold Sun sect master with Qin Yun. Then, they used Heavenly Lion's roar at the same time. Intense sound waves howled, bringing with them waves of spiritual attacks and vibrating power, instantly striking the Gold Sun sect master's body from 3 directions. The Golden Sun sect master was struck by the 3 sound waves. Blood spurted out of his 7 orifices, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Qin Yun rushed over and struck down with his hammer. Countless bolts of black lightning flashed and shook the world. Even though the Gold Sun sect master was wearing armor, his body was still penetrated by the power. His Dao bones and meridians were destroyed and he collapsed to the ground. Qin Yun, when I was chasing you just now, I used a communication Xian artifact to transmit your evil deeds to the spirit desolate. Just you wait to be punished. The Gold Sun sect leader shouted with his mental power. Evil? Don't tell me that you want to take away my bloodline and totem? Isn't that evil? Qin Yun found it somewhat funny and also very angry. These powerful forces had always thought that it was natural for them to oppress others, and if others resisted them, it would be evil, evil and intolerable by the heavens. A guy like you possessing the bloodline and totem of a heavenly lion is already against the Great Tao. And our Nine Sun sect is the darling of the Great Tao, only then do we have the qualifications. Qin Yun let out an angry roar as he smashed down with his hammer. After completely killing the Gold Sun sect leader, he took out a purple gold thunder martial spirit. These guys' martial spirits are all pretty good. During this period of time, Qin Yun had harvested quite a few good purple gold martial spirit. This would allow him to refine even stronger soul tools in the future. Yang Shiyu had already finished her battle. She released her silk life marks and wrapped them around the few spirit realm cultivators, waiting for Qin Yun to come over and deal with them. After Qin Yun went over, he suddenly sensed the remnants of a powerful aura. That feeling was as if he had seen something huge pressing down on him, making him unable to breathe. Big Sister Yang, is this your Tao force? How terrifying! Qin Yun said in surprise. However, he was unable to release his powerful Tao force. Originally, when one was at the 6th or 7th stage of the martial Tao, one would be able to use Tao force. However, this mainly depended on one's perception. The most direct feeling that Tao force gave people was that it produced a terrifying pressure. It was a formless mental influence. In addition, when inscribing runes, after injecting Tao force, it could also fill the runes with Tao force. During battle, it could affect the opponent's mind. Qin Yun felt that his perception was not bad, but he was unable to comprehend Tao force. Maybe it's because the situation of your martial spirit is rather complicated, so you won't be able to comprehend it in a short period of time. Don't worry, you'll definitely be able to in the future. Yang Shiyu comforted him with a gentle voice, her beautiful eyes filled with encouragement. Qin Yun immediately felt a little relieved. Then, he extracted the martial spirits of the few spirit realm. They were only platinum martial spirit. Trash martial spirit, he said with a face full of disdain. His words were a fatal blow to the few elders. After the martial spirit that had accompanied them for so many years was taken away, it was actually called a trash martial spirit. One of the elders was so angry that he died on the spot. With a fire talisman, Qin Yun burned the few elders to ashes. He looked in the direction of the desolate domain and sighed. There was clearly a huge commotion in the desolate domain, but there was no sound outside. Yang Shiyu said with a smile, "The space has shattered and those fellows are completely dead. Their forces in the spirit desolate will also know." Just now, the sect master said that he had already conveyed the situation here to the spirit desolate. Qin Yun looked into the sky with a worried expression. Don't worry, when we go to the spirit desolate in the future, we don't have to be afraid of them. The current spirit desolate is not dominated by the Nine Sun sects. Yang Shiyu gently patted the dust off Qin Yun's clothes and said softly. Qin Yun and Yang Shiyu had finally dealt with the Nine Sun sects. Now, they were going back to cultivate and step into the 9th level of the martial Tao. After they soared into the air, they suddenly sensed a very strong aura. It's the aura of a martial king. Yang Shiyu's expression changed drastically as she pulled Qin Yun away. Wait, it's me. The martial king was actually Wei Zhongzheng. Qin Yun and Yang Shiyu were even more astonished because a repulsive force had already begun to appear in the 3 desolate lands. It was extremely dangerous for a martial king to stay here. Sect Master. Qin Yun looked at the black-robed elder and immediately felt relieved. He was very happy to be able to see Wei Zhongjing again. When Wei Zhongjing saw that Qin Yun was fine, he said with a smile, "I heard that the Gold Sun sect had captured you, so I hurried over. It's good that you're fine." Yang Shiyu asked doubtfully, "Sect Master Wei, why aren't you affected by the repulsive force? The impact is not great for the time being. If this continues, I will have to suppress my cultivation and turn myself into a martial artist at the 9th level of the martial Dao." Wei Zhongjing said with a smile, "This secret technique was taught to me by the Nether Moon Palace. Previously, Kai Xiangjing was at the spirit martial realm, but she was able to enter the martial city because she used this secret technique. Sect Master, where are the others from the 9 Extinction Gate? Why didn't you go to the Spirit Desolate?" When Qin Yun mentioned the 9 Extinction Gate, he immediately felt sad. "I entrusted Mu Feng to bring them to the Spirit Desolate. At that time, Mu Feng will also make arrangements for them." Wei Zhongjing let out a long sigh and said, "Little Yun, the sun-suppressing divine arrow is gone. Our 9 Extinction Gate only exists in name." Qin Yun sighed in frustration. The Blue Spirit Star Palace he was in previously had suddenly disappeared. The same was true for the current 9 Extinction Gate. "Little Yun, I want to continue staying in the 3 desolate lands to search for the other 9 Extinction Heart Sutras. I originally thought that the one that was lost was only the 2nd volume. I never thought that there would be a 2nd volume." Wei Zhongjing looked at the 9 suns in the sky and said, "The 9 Extinction Heart Sutra has a total of upper, middle and lower volumes. The middle and lower volumes are most likely in the Demon Desolate and Magical Beast Desolate lands. The 9 Extinction Heart Sutra is very important to us. If we can gather all of them, we will have hope for our 9 Extinction Gate to stand tall in the 9 desolate lands." The 9 Extinction Heart Sutra was still a mysterious existence. Although Qin Yun had it as well, he had only cultivated the 9 Extinction Inner Force and the Extinction Dragon Palm. He was still half proficient in it. "Sect Master, do you want me to go with you?" Qin Yun asked. "No need. After I find it, I will go to the Spirit Desolate Land to look for you." Wei Zhongjing looked at Yang Shiyu and patted Qin Yun on the shoulder. He said, "All of you are quite strong. You should be able to safely reach the Spirit Desolate Land." "Sect Master, Big Sister Yang has done a lot of research on cultivation technique. Can I let her guide me in cultivating the 9 Extinction Heart Sutra? But I need your permission." Qin Yun scratched the back of his head and asked with a smile. Wei Zhongjing said with a smile, "All right, I agree to you teaching it to Miss Yang. If she can guide you in cultivating the 9 Extinction Heart Sutra, that would be for the best. Thank you for your trust, Sect Master Wei." Yang Shiyu said gratefully. After all, it was a very complete martial art. She was not a disciple of the 9 Extinction Gate, but she was able to learn it. This meant that Wei Zhongjing trusted her very much. "Take care, I'm in a hurry to go to the Demon Desolate Land." Wei Zhongjing looked at Qin Yun and said with a gratified smile. "Sect Master, take care too." Qin Yun nodded. "Sect Master Wei, be careful on the road." "Take care." Yang Shiyu said. Wei Zhongjing took out his flying boat and quickly flew towards the Demon Desolate Land. Chapter 497. Black Armored Ship. After Yang Shiyu returned, she hurriedly looked at the 9 Extinction Heart Sutra that Qin Yun had given her. She looked at it very seriously. The current her had the memories of her previous life, so it was much easier for her to understand some profound martial art. "Big Sister Yang, you can be considered a fairy of the immortal desolate land. Do you know any immortal arts or something?" Qin Yun asked when he saw Yang Shiyu pick up a fruit and eat it. Yang Shiyu looked at the 9 Extinction Heart Sutra and smiled gently. "Of course I understand. However, I need immortal power to use it. I'll teach it to you in the future. Of course, if you awaken your memories from your previous life, You will also master many immortal arts. Yang Shi was studying the 9 Extinction Heart Sutra at the array base. Qin Yun also went to the 3 Saint Lake to visit Su Xinxin and Qiu Yu. They were all cultivating very seriously, wanting to step into the 9th level of the martial Tao as soon as possible. After Qin Yun returned to the array base, he organized the martial spirit, Tao core and 6 Tao tools he had obtained. I stole these Tao tools. If I want to use them, I'll have to spend a long time refining them in order to unleash the true power of the Tao tools. Qin Yun had a better understanding of Tao tools. If he borrowed them from someone else, he would only be able to unleash 20 to 30% of the power of a Tao tool. He had to refine the Tao tool for a period of time and harmonize it with his Tao core martial spirit in order to make the Tao tool even more powerful. Although they are Tao tools, they are rather crude. They are far inferior to my heavenly lion dragon suppression cauldron. Qin Yun was a person who pursued perfection, so he could only put away the Tao tools. On the other hand, the saber forged by Wu Mingxiu was not bad, but he still felt that it was a bit lacking. Although the saber forged by Senior Wu is an ancient Tao tool, it's just that. It's not a sincere work of his. It's just ordinary, Qin Yun said with some disdain. Yang Shi was wearing a snow-white dress, supporting her beautiful blushing cheeks. She lazily sat on a chair and looked at the 9 Extinction Heart Sutra on the table. Her posture was extremely flirtatious. This mature and beautiful woman's eyes moved as she looked at Qin Yun. She said with a chuckle, "Xiao Yun, many 9th-level martial Tao cultivators don't even have Xian artifacts. Yet you are here with all sorts of disdain for Tao tools. This will drive many people crazy." Qin Yun had the 9 Sun Divine Hammer, so he naturally did not like these Tao tools. However, he still wanted a better knife. "When I go to the Spirit Desolate, I'll find Sister Steamed Bun and Water Fairy. I'll get them to help me refine a Xian artifact," Qin Yun said with a chuckle. "What I refine myself is the most suitable." "Won't she be angry that you keep calling Sis Qingqing, Sis Steamed Bun? In the Moon Profound Valley, she is a famous demoness. Just like Big Sister Shui, they are known as the 2 Peerless Beauties." Yang Shi stretched her back before continuing to read the 9 Extinction Heart Sutra. "Big Sister Yang, you don't know this, but these 2 beauties are my servants." Qin Yun's handsome face was filled with pride. "Especially the Water Fairy. She agreed to be my woman for life and do odd jobs for me." Yang Shi was somewhat surprised. "Is this true? Don't look at how flirtatious Sister Shui is. It's hard for any man to even touch her." "This is my charm." Qin Yun giggled. He took out the 9 Sun Divine Hammer and looked at the sun totem on it. He felt that it was somewhat similar to the sun-suppressing divine arrow. Qin Yun also took the opportunity to refine all sorts of talismans. When he was crafting talismans, he discovered that Yang Yang, the 9th Heaven Sparrow, was very useful. The flames it spat out were very strong and could quickly burn all kinds of materials to a soft state. However, he only tried it for a while. Because Yang Yang helped him burn the materials, he quickly became hungry. This little thing could eat a lot and was also very picky about food. Mo and the little jade rabbit could only eat the moonlight essence stew now. As for the little duck, Yang Yang, it still wanted to eat dragon meat. The little jade rabbit had also come out to see Yang Shi. The 2 of them seemed to have agreed to stay with Qin Yun. When Qin Yun saw that Mo and the little jade rabbit were having a good time, he planned to stay. If he were to separate them, Mo would be very sad. After a few days of study, Yang Shi called Qin Yun to the table and said, "Little Yun, although there is a lot of content in this book, it's too messy. I've only picked out 3 essences for you to cultivate." When Qin Yun read it himself, he felt that the content was too messy. He did not know how to choose. First is the 9 Extinction Inner Force. You should have cultivated it quite well. However, you still need to use the 9 Extinction Inner Forces mantra to cultivate the 9 Extinction Tao Force. I will guide you. The second is the Extinction Dragon Palm. The 36 palms of the Extinction Dragon Palm have endless variations. Right now, you have only mastered the first 2 palms. The main reason is because you have not mastered the Tao Force well. Because the Extinction Dragon Palm needs to be used in conjunction with the 9 Extinction Tao Force in order to be able to learn it better. The essence of the third cultivation is the 9 Extinction Step. This is a movement technique. It should be very profound and will be of great help to you. These 3 training points are force, palm, and footwork. This is also the essence of the first volume. The other miscellaneous things are not very useful and are not suitable for your cultivation. Yang Shiryu used her beautiful and clear voice to slowly speak. Qin Yun nodded as he listened. He said with a smile, "Big Sister Yang, you are indeed my good teacher." Yang Shiryu's beautiful eyes flickered with a smile. I will explain these 3 points properly next. Qin Yun hurriedly sat up straight and listened attentively. After a few days of explanation, Qin Yun had memorized all of them and grasped the essentials of cultivation. Big Sister Yang, let's go to the sacred pond to cultivate. Qin Yun could not wait to step into the 9th level of the martial Tao. Little Yun, I remember you saying that when you stepped into the 3rd level of the martial Tao, the 9 suns suddenly turned black, right? Yang Shiryu suddenly pulled him and asked. Yes, what's wrong? Qin Yun frowned. If that's the case, it's best not to step into the 9th level of the martial Tao in the 3 desolate lands. Yang Shiryu thought for a moment and said, when the black martial spirit reaches the 9th level of the martial Tao, it will undergo the 3rd transformation. The 3rd transformation is more crucial, and the power of the 9 suns in the 3 desolate lands doesn't seem to be enough. It's best to go to the spirit desolate land to break through. Yang Shiryu touched Qin Yun's handsome face and said with a smile, I also suddenly thought of this problem. She also had a black martial spirit, so in order to obtain the strongest power when breaking through, it would be best to go to the spirit desolate land. Alright, let's set off now. Let's go greet Xiao Yu and Xin. Qin Yun nodded and went to the cave on the mountain with Yang Shiryu. When Xiao Yu and Su Xin learned that Qin Yun and company were leaving, they were somewhat reluctant. However, they would also go to the spirit desolate land in the future. After a simple disguise, Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu wore black armor and bamboo hat. They arrived at the Divine Inscription Palace near the path of the Thorny Devil. In the Divine Inscription Palace, there was a very large black-armored ship. It was said that it could withstand the attacks of a martial king and was extremely sturdy. With this black-armored ship, they would be able to head to the Spirit Desolate Land. However, it would cost 500 million purple coins and it would take 3 months. Qin Yun straightforwardly paid the fee for the 2 of them. It was a total of 1 billion. The black-armored ship stopped in the air. It was 1,000 meters long and slowly approached in shock. This huge black-armored ship not only carried people but also many other things. There were also many defensive formations set up inside. It was a huge Tao tool that cost a lot of money. When they boarded the ship, they found out that a room would cost 500 million. If they didn't want a room, they could also squeeze together with many people in the huge cabin on the first floor of the ship. Qin Yun had originally wanted 2 rooms, but Yang Shiryu felt that it was too expensive and only wanted 1. When they arrived at the room, they discovered that it was very small. It was only 2 to 3 meters long and wide. There was not much space left after putting a bed. I never thought that there would be so many rich people in the martial desolate land. Boarding the ship requires 500 million purple coins. Qin Yun exclaimed as he lay on the bed. That's not it. Many people can't afford to board the ship, so they all signed a contract with the Divine Inscription Palace. After they go to the Spirit Desolate Land, they will help out as workers for decades or even centuries. Yang Shiryu took off her armor and laid beside Qin Yun. She took out a book and read it. Big Sister Yang, do you have any plans for going to the Spirit Desolate Land? Qin Yun looked at the fragrant, peerless beauty lying beside him. He had the urge to hug her. I don't know yet. Let's talk about it when we get there. In short, I will settle you down. Yang Shiryu smiled gently. Yuelon entrusted me to take good care of you. I'm not a child anymore. Qin Yun stuck out his tongue and said with a chuckle, Yuelon is really something. She always treats me like a child. You're 1 year younger than her, so in her eyes you'll always be a child. Yang Shiryu said with a chuckle. After docking for a few days, the black-armored spaceship finally took off. Its speed was extremely fast. The room Qin Yun chose also had a window that allowed him to see the situation outside. Sitting on the edge of the bed, he could lean against the window and look at the scenery outside. Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu leaned against the window and looked down from high up in the sky. With the protection of the formation, there was no strong wind blowing in. It was very convenient to enjoy the scenery outside. We've arrived at the magical beast desolate land. Yang Shiryu said, it's really barren. Previously, there were many beautiful scenery to see, but as they went deeper into the magical beast desolate land, there were only bare mountains and pale yellow earth. There was not a single trace of life. There were no mountains or rivers to see, and Qin Yun felt bored. It will take a lot of time to get to the Spirit Desolate. Let's take this opportunity to cultivate the 9 extinction Tao force. Yang Shiryu patted Qin Yun's head. Following that, Qin Yun followed Yang Shiryu's guidance and began cultivating the 9 extinction Tao force. After traveling for half a month, the black-armored spaceship finally passed through the magical beast Desolate. It passed through a spatial rift and entered the magical Desolate. The magical Desolate was the same realm as the Spirit Desolate, so they were connected. Not long after entering the magical Desolate, the black-armored spaceship suddenly stopped for a period of time and then continued flying. Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu were cultivating in their room when they suddenly heard someone knocking on the door. Qin Yun walked over and opened the door. He saw 2 men dressed in black patterned robes. They were from Totem Pavilion. Collect the toll, 100 million purple coins per person. You too, 200 million purple coins. A big man shouted with a fierce expression. Chapter 498. 9th level Martial Dao. On the black-armored ship, there was suddenly someone from Totem Pavilion collecting a toll. With a single thought, one could tell that the person driving the ship had colluded with Totem Pavilion to cheat them of purple coins. Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu also recalled that the black-armored ship had stopped for a moment. It was at that time that the people from Totem Pavilion had come up. Totem Pavilion was located in both the Spirit Desolate and the Magical Desolate. The Magical Desolate was the headquarters of Totem Pavilion, so they could be said to be extremely arrogant. When a burly man saw that Qin Yun did not want to give it to him, he said with a wretched smile, "Is this your wife? Let her play with me for 2 hours and I'll waive your toll." The other man laughed and said, "I also want to play for 2 hours. The 2 of you can skip the toll." As they spoke, the 2 burly men closed the door. They were both at the spirit realm, so they were not afraid of the martial Dao realm at all. Qin Yun took out a talisman. With a furious expression, he said with a deep voice, "Do you know what talisman this is? I don't care what talisman you are. In short, with your strength, you are unable to fight against us." The burly man laughed sinisterly and said, "This kind of top-grade beauty is truly rare to see in 100 years. I will definitely enjoy it. I will let you enjoy the process of death." Qin Yun's voice was cold and filled with killing intent as he threw the body-securing talisman out. Although the 2 men were at the spirit realm, Qin Yun had refined a royal-grade body-securing talisman. Therefore, they would be frozen for 2 to 3 seconds. Body-securing talisman. Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppression Cauldron, you are Qin Yun. A burly man shouted in shock when he saw Qin Yun take out the heavenly lion dragon suppression cauldron. After Qin Yun took out the cauldron, he hurriedly kept the two of them inside. Yang Shiyu looked at the small and exquisite cauldron in Qin Yun's palm and said with a chuckle, "I didn't even need to do anything to resolve the crisis. What a good husband of mine!" Qin Yun said with a smile, "Then how are you going to reward me, my good wife?" Yang Shiyu's jade-like face was filled with tenderness. She smiled sweetly and kissed her fingers before tapping Qin Yun's lip. Qin Yun immediately licked his lips and said with a chuckle, "It's still not enough." "Enough!" Yang Shiyu chuckled and rolled her eyes at him. "Then," she said solemnly, "those two fellows suddenly disappeared. They must have sensed something. Those fellows from the Divine Inscription Palace are really getting more and more baddies." Qin Yun looked at the small cauldron and sighed. Because there are a lot of sects and aristocratic families involved in managing the Divine Inscription Palace, they have all placed their own people into the Divine Inscription Palace. As a result, there are more and more people in the Divine Inscription Palace. Yang Shiyu sat by the bed, combing her soft and beautiful long hair. She looked very beautiful and moving. Qin Yun poured the beast meat into the heavenly lion dragon suppression cauldron and burned the two fellows from Totem Pavilion inside. He listened to their painful cries. Yang Shiyu said, "It should be someone from the Divine Inscription Palace. They are secretly colluding with Totem Pavilion to earn some money in private. This guy driving the boat must have some background. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to act so recklessly." Qin Yun thought so as well. More than 4 hours later, someone knocked on Qin Yun's door. When he opened the door, he saw an old man from the Divine Inscription Palace. "Esteemed guests, have you seen two burly men in black robes?" the old man asked. When Yang Shiyu heard this, her expression turned ice-cold. She coldly snorted and said, "Your Divine Inscription Palace is a huge power. You actually do such a sneaky thing. Why are you collecting tolls?" "We are passing through Totem Pavilion's territory, so we naturally have to pay them a toll. After all, they have to protect our safe passage." After the old man finished speaking, he hurriedly closed the door and left. Yang Shiyu snorted and said, "These guys, why don't they come up with a better excuse? In the magical desolate land, who would dare to attack the ship of the Divine Inscription Palace? The magical desolate land is so big, and it's not the territory of Totem Pavilion. Why do we have to go through the sky of Totem Pavilion?" Following that, the black-armored spaceship gradually became lively. Qin Yun and Yang Shiyu were invited out and gathered with a few hundred people in a spacious hall on the second floor. These few hundred people had paid to sink the ship, and most of them were at the spirit realm. The reason why they were gathered here was because the two people from Totem Pavilion had disappeared. The two people from Totem Pavilion did not knock on other people's doors in order. They knocked according to their preferences, so a portion of them would not be charged. As a result, the Divine Inscription Palace did not know which room would be charged in the end. They could only conduct a more detailed inspection. After a few days, the people from the Divine Inscription Palace could only give up and let everyone return to their rooms. After Qin Yun returned, he continued cultivating his Tao force. After more than 40 days of flight, the black-armored spaceship finally passed through the magical desolate land and left the spirit desolate land. The gigantic black-armored spaceship only stopped at the border between the spirit desolate and magical desolate land. Although this was also the spirit desolate land, there were often demonic beasts that came over. It was still rather dangerous. Fortunately, there was a city here. It was built by the Divine Inscription Palace, and it was also very deceptive. At that moment, Qin Yun had also cultivated Tao force. He could only use vibration Tao force and heavenly lion Tao force. As for the Nether Sun martial spirit, it was still the same and did not have any reaction. Yang Shiyu and Qin Yun left the ship and arrived at the city built by the Divine Inscription Palace. The city looked somewhat old. Many of the buildings were very old, and there was a lot of moss on the surface of the stone brick. However, the city was rather lively. After Qin Yun disembarked the ship, he realized that there were over 10,000 people in the cabin below. These people had all signed a contract with the Divine Inscription Palace. As long as they worked for a few decades, they would not need to pay the boarding fee. Through this method, the Divine Inscription Palace obtained batch after batch of laborers. These people only yearned for the life of the Spirit Desolate. Now that they had a way to head to the Spirit Desolate land, they had to take a look no matter what. Yang Shiyu and Qin Yun were together, but they were very carefree. There was no need to worry about not having enough purple coins. They were currently staying in a relatively good hotel. The suite they were staying in also had a secret cultivation room. Yang Shiyu came out from her bath. She was wrapped in a thin bathrobe, outlining her beautiful and plump figure. It was filled with incomparable temptation. Qin Yun was by the window, looking at the setting sun in the evening. He said, "Is this the Spirit Desolate? It doesn't look any different from the martial desolate land. Even the density of the 9 suns' spiritual energy seems to be the same. The vastness of the Spirit Desolate is comparable to the 3 desolate lands. It is rich in resources and is a very ancient desolate land. When the Spirit Desolate land was very strong, there were no humans in the martial desolate land." Yang Shiyu said, "In the future, you will gradually understand the difference between the Spirit Desolate and the martial desolate land." Qin Yun looked at the sun in the sky and sighed, "I wonder how Yuan and the others are doing now." Yang Shiyu smiled sweetly. "She is in the Nether Moon Palace, nothing will happen to her. And in the Spirit Desolate, the most important thing for you is to find the Sun Soul." "Has no one obtained the Sun Soul of the Spirit Desolate land? How is that possible?" Qin Yun said in surprise. "Even if someone obtains it, they can still snatch it away." Yang Shiyu smiled. "Let's quickly start our cultivation. Now that we're here, we can rest assured and step into the 9th level of the martial Tao." Qin Yun still had one more dragon essence. Furthermore, the energy of the fireball had not been used up yet. It was sealed within the Nether Sun Tao core. Although Qin Yun was unable to use the powerful power of the Nether Sun martial spirit, he had to admit that the Nether Sun Tao core was extremely powerful. It could contain a lot of violent energy. Qin Yun and Yang Shiyu were both wearing loose bathrobes. They faced each other in the secret chamber, their palms pressed together as they entered a state of cultivation. When cultivating together, there was another benefit. It was that when they broke through, they would not burst out with a very strong aura. No matter how violent the energy was, under the Sun and Moon Heart Sutra's hard and soft state, it would calmly circulate within their bodies. Without the immersion of the sacred pool, their cultivation speed would not be as fast. However, with the support of the powerful energy, it would not take too much time. When Qin Yun and Yang Shiyu were cultivating together, they could feel that the energy they had fused with was flowing rapidly. Although it was flowing very fast and very ferocious, the energy always gave people a very gentle feeling. Qin Yun could sense that the Tao blood and Tao bones in his body were absorbing the most energy. They constantly nourished his muscles and meridians. Even his hair was constantly strengthening. The 9th level of the martial Tao realm was also the realm of large success of the Tao body. Because he had to cultivate 3 Tao cores, his Tao body was also stronger than others. At this stage, Yang Shiyu had stepped into the 9th level of the martial Tao earlier than Qin Yun. However, she was still cultivating together with Qin Yun. After your Tao body has reached large success, your body's strength and strength are much stronger than ordinary 9th level martial Tao cultivators. Yang Shiyu sighed. She had already reached large success of the Tao body, but Qin Yun was far from it. Only after the Tao body had reached large success could one begin to form the 9th life mark. All 3 Tao cores needed to form the 9th life mark, so without a powerful Tao body, one would not be able to bear 3 different ninth life marks. Qin Yun and Yang Shi had been cultivating together for more than a month. Finally, their Tao body had reached large success, and they had begun to form the 9th life mark. The 9th life mark of the 3 Tao cores gradually appeared. When it completely appeared, Qin Yun's body constantly trembled as black gas leaked out. When Yang Shi saw this, she hurriedly hugged Qin Yun tightly. Then, the two of them hugged each other and continued to cultivate together. As a result, the aura that surged out from Qin Yun's body was suppressed. After Qin Yun formed his 9th life mark, he looked at the mature beauty in his arms that was as gentle as water. He could not help but feel elated as he felt her gentle fragrance. Yang Shi hurriedly broke free from Qin Yun's embrace and tidied up her loose bathrobe. She said to Qin Yun with a chuckle, "Fortunately, we are cultivating together. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to suppress that aura and the 9 suns might turn black again. Xiao Yun, how are your divine abilities?" Qin Yun closed his eyes and felt it. He said, "Not only can the earthquake divine ability create shock waves from the ground during an earthquake, it can also shake a large area of the sky. The 3rd stage of the earthquake divine ability is even more terrifying. However, it also consumes a lot of Tao energy. It should be able to drain the energy of a Tao core. As for the Heavenly Lion summoning technique, it can still only summon 2 Heavenly Lions. However, the Heavenly Lions are stronger and can stay longer." Yang Shi said, "Xiao Yun, your earthquake divine ability is very strong. However, don't think that it's only used to attack a large area. Your control over the power of the divine ability is not enough. You can only use 10% of the power of the divine ability and then guide this power into your body and release it through your body." Chapter 499. Mystery of the Blood Moon. Qin Yun memorized Yang Shi's words. In the future, when he cultivated, he would pay attention to the use of divine powers. After all, it would bring him great power. The Tao force you have cultivated is strong enough. I will guide you in cultivating the Extinction Dragon Palm and the 9 Extinction Step. Yang Shi took out 2 booklets. They were the experiences she had recorded on her way to the Spirit Desolate Land. After handing it to Qin Yun, she explained in detail. Qin Yun had previously listened to Yang Shi's explanation of the Extinction Dragon Palm and 9 Extinction Steps, but this time, it was even more detailed. Late at night, Yang Shi finally finished speaking. Qin Yun closed his eyes and digested the contents of Yang Shi's explanation. Suddenly, cries of surprise came from outside the window. "Why did the moon turn red? The red moon is like blood. It's too scary. What does the sudden appearance of such a phenomenon mean?" When Qin Yun and Yang Shi heard this, they hurriedly went to the window and looked up into the sky. There was a blood-red full moon in the sky, and the blood-red moonlight shone on the ground. It was beautiful and strange, causing people to feel an indescribable sense of panic. "Big Sister Yang, why is the moon red?" Qin Yun looked at the sky and asked. He looked at Yang Shi and realized that her face was filled with seriousness. Yang Shi said anxiously, "Xiao Yun, I'm going. You have enough purple crystal coins and are very strong. I believe that you will be able to take good care of yourself." Qin Yun wanted to ask something else, but Yang Shi jumped out of the window and flew towards the blood-colored moon. Just as he was about to follow, he heard Yang Shi's voice transmission. "Don't follow, it's very dangerous. I'll tell you what's going on later." Qin Yun held a booklet in his hand as he stared blankly at Yang Shi, who had disappeared into the night sky. While he was worried, he was also filled with doubt. "Sister Yang, you have to take care of yourself too." He felt a little melancholy in his heart as he shook his head and sighed. Qin Yun put away the 2 booklets and took out the immortal graveyard diagram. It had been a long time since he took it out. "Let's try dripping blood." He dripped his powerful blood on the immortal graveyard diagram. The immortal graveyard diagram suddenly trembled. Big Sister Grand Preceptor. Qin Yun hurriedly injected his mind into the immortal graveyard diagram and shouted, "Xiao Yun, you're at the 9th stage of the martial path? So fast." Xie Qiru said, "Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, I've come to the spirit desolate land. When will I be able to go to that immortal tomb to search for my mother's soul?" Qin Yun asked hurriedly. "It's good that you go to the spirit desolate. It's much earlier than I expected." Xie Qiru said, "Xiao Yun, don't be in such a hurry to come to the Cloud Dragon Mountain range. The defenses here have increased." "Yes, I will definitely make myself stronger faster." Qin Yun quickly nodded and said, "When you go to the Spirit Desolate, pay attention to this immortal graveyard diagram every once in a while. I will contact you regularly." Xie Qiru laughed softly. "Your blood contains enough energy, you can also contact me frequently. This is great." Qin Yun is also very happy. Just as he was about to ask about Yang Shiryu, Xie Qiru said, "Little Yun, since you are in the Spirit Desolate, you must think of a way to enter an immortal sect." "Immortal Gate?" asked Qin Yun immediately. You should join a sect first." "All right, I'll contact you again in a while." After saying that, Xie Qiru went silent. Qin Yun did not know what an immortal sect was. He could only leave his residence and go outside the city to inquire. After asking around, he found out that there are 5 great immortal sects in the Spirit Desolate. They are very strong sects in the Spirit Desolate, and it is very difficult to enter. In the Spirit Desolate, other than the 5 great immortal sects, there are also 5 star and 3 moon sections. The 5 star sects are the Myriad Star Sect, Sword Star Sect, Cold Star Valley, Star Mountain Island, and Wood Star Palace. The 3 moon sects are Fire Moon City, Nether Moon Palace, and Demon Moon Island. It is said that they are all female sections. The 5 great immortal sects are the Medicine Immortal Valley, Immortal Weapon City, Azure Flame Immortal Mountain, Demon Immortal Paradise, and Sword Immortal Pavilion. Only the disciples of the Star Moon sect would have the opportunity to enter the immortal sect. Generally speaking, when one is at the 9th level of the martial Tao, there is also a certain age limit. They cannot exceed 50 years old. After Qin Yun inquired about it, he felt that it was extremely difficult to become a disciple of an immortal sect. Because, first, he had to become a disciple of the Star Moon sect. Then, he would have to compete within the sect to obtain a spot. Without 8 to 10 years, it would be impossible. Qin Yun looked at the blood moon in the sky and sighed helplessly in his heart. He felt that if Yang Shiryu was here, he might be able to find a way to enter the immortal sect. The Spirit Desolate is extremely vast. Even though there are many powerful sects that occupy a large area, there are still many places that are ownerless. And in the Magical Desolate, there are also many powerful devil sects, such as Totem Pavilion. Although the blood moon caused a wave of panic after daybreak, many people quickly forgot about it. At daybreak, Qin Yun walked on the streets, preparing to head to a bigger city. After a night of consideration, he decided to join one of the 5 star sections. Although it was very difficult to enter, it was still easier than entering an immortal sect. Qin Yun boarded the flying ship and squeezed into the cabin with many people. He flew to an ancient tree city. This ancient tree city was built by the Wood Star Palace. The Wood Star Palace is a sect with a rather strange name. This sect controls a large river. It is said that the large river is very strange. If flowers, plants, and trees are planted on the river, they can grow very quickly. Qin Yun was only curious about this sect, so he planned to take a look. In the cabin, Qin Yun chatted with an old man and asked about the situation of the Wood Star Palace. The old man said with a smile, "The Wood Star Palace is a little brother of the Medicine Immortal Valley. They mainly provide medicinal herbs to the Medicine Immortal Valley. I have to say, this Medicine Immortal Valley is really cool. There is a powerful force helping to grow medicinal herbs. Uncle Lu, how can I enter the medicine immortal valley faster? Qin Yun asked curiously. It's easy to enter the medicine immortal valley, but it's difficult to become a disciple. Uncle Lu chuckled and said, I used to grow medicinal herbs in the medicine immortal valley. If you have good talent in cultivation, you can go to the medicine immortal valley. They also grow some of the more precious Xian medicines. Qin Yun's eyes lit up. He had a sun-moon profound bowl in his hand. It was a good item for growing medicinal herbs. He had never used it before, but now it was finally of use. The sun-moon profound bowl was obtained from Xiaoyang Long. It was a very good Xian tool. Following that, Qin Yun asked Uncle Lu about the specifics and gained a deeper understanding of how to enter the medicine immortal valley. Ancient Tree City is a very special city. There are no buildings here, only many very large trees. All kinds of shops are in the tree holes of the big trees. Even the divine inscription palace has to be inside an ancient tree. In the middle of the ancient tree city there is a large river. Along the river, one can reach the wood star palace that is floating on the surface of the river. This city full of supergiant trees is not only strange but also very large. It can accommodate millions of people. The trees in the city are separated by 200 to 300 meters. Even though the canopy is very big, they are not entangled with each other. Every tree was the size of a building, and there were many tree holes in the interior. Because of the uniqueness of the ancient tree city and the large amount of medicinal herbs sold by the Wood Star Palace, the city is very lively. There are 2 in the Divine Inscription Palace alone. Qin Yun had previously learned that the disciples of the various sects would often appear in the ancient tree city to purchase medicinal herbs. There are some medicinal herbs that can only be grown in the Wood Star Palace, so even some immortal sects have to come here to buy medicinal herbs. Because the city is very big, Qin Yun had no choice but to hire a spirit crane to fly him to the wood pavilion. The tree where the wood pavilion is located is the thickest and tallest here. The diameter of the tree is over 100 meters. Below the tree there is a relatively large tree hole. After entering, there is a spacious trading hall inside. There are many people here, either trading with the wood pavilion, purchasing medicinal herbs or selling medicinal herbs to the wood pavilion. There are more than 1,000 people here. It is very lively. After Qin Yun entered, he searched for a moment before finally finding a counter. This counter is specially designed to recruit medicine farmers. At the counter is a very spirited old man. He looked at Qin Yun and said with some doubt, "Young man, do you really want to become a medicine farmer? This doesn't seem to be suitable for you." "I want to become a medicine farmer in the medicine immortal valley. Is that okay?" Qin Yun asked. "You can, but it's quite difficult. Even if you want to be a medicine farmer in the medicine immortal valley, the competitiveness is still very high. If you really have such thoughts, then pay 100 million purple crystal coins to register," the old man said. Qin Yun's eyes immediately widened. This actually cost 100 million purple crystal coins. Don't think it's too expensive. This is the only way for ordinary people to enter the immortal sect. Even if you become a medicine farmer in the medicine immortal valley, there are still many benefits. The old man chuckled and said, "Of course, after you register, you will have to go through layers of screening before you can be selected by the medicine immortal valley. There is also the Divine Inscription Palace here, so the purple crystal card is universal." He paid 100 million to the old man and officially registered. After registering, he received a jade token and will be arranged to go to the western wilderness of Ancient Tree City for the first round of assessment. There are indeed many people who want to enter the medicine immortal valley to become medicine farmers. There are more than 100 of them. Qin Yun and the 100 people sat in a hall, waiting for the start. And in the end, only one person can become a medicine farmer in the medicine immortal valley. Other than Qin Yun, These people are all middle-aged and old. There are people at the 9th level martial Tao and spirit martial realm. Some of them are old medicine farmers from other sections. They only came to register after accumulating 100 million purple crystal coins. There are a total of 3 rounds of assessment. In the end, only one person can pass. A white-robed old man walked in and said, "The first round of assessment will allow you to face the disciples of the Nether Moon Palace, Fire Moon City, and Demon Moon Island. You will be responsible for helping them save the profound medicine seedlings that are about to wither." Chapter 500. The struggle of the medicine farmers. Many of the farmers in the hall immediately complained incessantly. These women from the 3 moon sects are very picky. If we accidentally kill their medicinal seedlings, we might even be scolded. That's right. Although they are all women, their tempers are not good at all. They often quarrel with each other. Being with them is the most infuriating. It's quite difficult to cure the medicinal seedlings. When the time comes, we'll have to spend a lot of effort. The person in charge said with a smile, "Everyone, the top 20 people who can cure the most medicinal seedlings will be able to enter the next round of assessment. The competition is very cruel. All of you have paid 100 million purple coins, so you must work hard." Everyone sighed and could only bite the bullet and proceed with the assessment. Qin Yun and the 100 or so farmers followed the person in charge to the spacious hall on the 2nd floor. As soon as they entered, they felt 3 waves of killing intent. The hall that could accommodate thousands of people had actually become extremely cold because of the collision of the 3 killing intents. Qin Yun finally understood what the farmers were complaining about. The women of the 3 moon sects were hostile towards each other. Although they were standing more than 10 meters apart, they were releasing waves of Tao power to collide with each other. The person in charge also felt some pressure and slowly said, "Fairies, these are the farmers who will be participating in the assessment this time. They will be responsible for curing those medicinal seedlings. Take out the medicinal seedlings and place them in front. Also, tell them in detail why the medicinal seedlings withered." The female disciples of the Nether Moon Palace were all wearing white dresses. The female disciples of Fire Moon City all wore red dresses, while the female disciples of Demon Moon Island wore pink dresses. The strength of the 3 moon sects could be considered a very powerful sect in the Spirit Desolate. Because there were hostile forces present, these female disciples' expressions were extremely cold. It was as if they could kill at any moment, scaring Qin Yun and the other farmers into being extremely cautious. There were about 10 female disciples in each moon sect. They took out many medicinal seedlings and placed them on a piece of beast skin in front of them. The Xian Yuan purple flower is such a good Xian medicine, but it was actually killed by your Nether Moon Palace. You guys really have the ability. A woman from Fire Moon City mocked with a smile. The faces of the female disciples of the Nether Moon Palace suddenly darkened. Their beautiful eyes were filled with murderous intent. Qin Yun hurriedly walked over and picked up the Xian Yuan purple flower. He said, "The spirit root inside this Xian Yuan purple flower is damaged. This should be caused by nature, but it can be cured." A woman with an oval face and a long braid from the Nether Moon Palace suddenly revealed a happy expression and said, "Yes, this is the main reason. Some people don't even know what's going on, yet they're spouting nonsense." Qin Yun held the withered Xian Yuan purple flower tightly and used the tree totem. Through the tree totem, he transformed it into a strange Tao power and injected it into the purple flower. Not long after, the withered purple flower gradually came to life and bloomed again. Furthermore, the spirit root was also repaired by Qin Yun. He had also learned from Feng Honglan and Yuan Yenying, so he had a certain level of foundation. Feng Honglan and Yuan Yenying are both in the Nether Moon Palace, and should be responsible for planting medicinal herbs. Qin Yun found it a little strange because with their abilities, they would definitely be able to cure these withering xian medicines. Little brother, you're really amazing. You did it in an instant, the long braid woman said in surprise. At this moment, a man in an azure robe who had just walked up the stairs held a folding fan and sneered, "It's just a little trick." When they saw the azure-robed man, many old medicine farmers immediately walked over and bowed respectfully. "Young Master Lu, I heard that you just stepped into the 9th-level Martial Dao, and you defeated the 10th-ranked 9th-level Martial Dao disciple of the Wood Star Palace. You're really amazing. As expected of the eldest grandson of the great elder of the Wood Star Palace, his talent is outstanding. Young Master Lu, you have a red variant martial spirit and your ability to heal medicinal herbs is even higher. No one in the same generation can match you." When the women of the Three Moon sects saw Lu Chongxing arrive, their killing intent also converged a lot. From this, it could be seen that Lu Chongxing had some ability. Lu Chongxing's handsome face was filled with pride as he said with a proud smile, "You are all here to take the medicine farmer examination, right? This is indeed the way to enter the medicine immortal valley. However, once you enter, you will only be a medicine farmer for the rest of your life. As for me, I will directly become an outer sect disciple of the medicine immortal valley. It won't be long before I become a main sect disciple." He saw these medicine farmers, for the sake of a medicine immortal valley medicine farmer quota. Here, a sense of superiority spontaneously arose. Qin Yun only glanced at Lu Chongxing before seriously treating the withered medicinal seedlings. He had 3 jade boxes that contained the cured medicinal seedlings. The Three Moon sects opened them separately so that it would be easy to return them later. Not long after, he had cured more than 10 of them. "Junior sisters and sisters, why didn't you tell me that you came? I would have sent someone to entertain you," Lu Chongxing said with a smile. "We're in a hurry, so we came here directly," a woman from Demon Moon Island said with a lukewarm voice. For some reason, the female disciples of the Three Moon sects did not give Lu Chongxing a good look. However, the killing intent on their bodies had converged a lot. When the other medicine farmers saw that Qin Yun had cured so many medicinal seedlings, they also walked over and hurriedly revived the medicinal seedlings. There were only 2 hours left. When Lu Chongxing saw that these women did not give him a good look, he was somewhat angry, but he did not flare up. At this time, many young men in luxurious clothes arrived. They seemed to have come here specifically to see the women of the Three Moon sect. This was because the beauty of the female disciples of the Moon sect was very famous. Of course, the reason why they approached the female disciples of the Moon sect was because they wanted to cultivate together. "Old Huang, who is this young man? He is quite skilled in healing medicinal herbs," Lu Chongxing said. "His name is Qin Yun. I don't know his exact background. In short, he is quite a good person. He is very polite." The old man called Old Huang was the person in charge here. He quickly answered Lu Chongxing's question. "Qin Yun." Lu Chongxing muttered the name and then looked at his group of friends. They all shook their heads. They had never heard of this name. When Qin Yun saw that none of them had heard of him, he felt a lot more at ease. Soon 2 hours had passed. Qin Yun healed the most xian medicine seedlings, a total of more than 90. He was ranked first. "Little brother Qin Yun, you really have a way to revive the xian medicine seedlings. Furthermore, you are at the 9th level of the martial Dao at such a young age. Are you interested in coming to our Demon Moon Island to be a medicine farmer? The treatment is no worse than that of the medicine immortal valley." A charming woman in a pink dress asked with a charming smile. When everyone heard this, they were moved. Demon Moon Island never allowed men to enter. When Qin Yun heard the surprise discussion in the crowd, he laughed dryly and said, "Big sister, Demon Moon Island does not accept men. Don't make fun of me. It's not like I'm asking you to go to the island. You can just plant on a small island near our Demon Moon Island. The charming woman chuckled and said, "Don't refuse. Come back with us." The oval-faced woman from the Nether Moon Palace sneered and said, "The people of Demon Moon Island are all demons. Little brother, after you go, you will definitely be eaten by them until not even your bones are left. Little brother, you should come to our Nether Moon Palace. It's best to plant Xian medicine under our Nether Moon Mountain. Come to our Fire Moon City. You can set the conditions." The woman in the red dress from Fire Moon City also quickly shouted. Qin Yun was immediately in a mess. These women were actually fighting over him. The medicine farmers were also a little envious. After all, the treatment of the Three Moons sect was indeed very good, and they could get close to many beauties. Especially Lu Chongxing and the other young elites, they were the most jealous. Because the female disciples of the Three Moons sect did not even look at them. He cured more than 90 Xian medicine seedlings in 2 hours, which is considered medium. I can cure more than 150 in the shortest time. He is nothing. I don't understand what's there to fight over. Lu Chongxing said with a sour tone. If you want to be a medicine farmer, we will accept you too. But you, young Master Lu, are an outer sect disciple of the Medicine Immortal Valley. We can't afford to climb up to you. The charming woman from Demon Moon Island said with a hint of ridicule in her tone. Qin Yun said, "Thank you for thinking so highly of me. I have already decided to enter the Medicine Immortal Valley to be a medicine farmer, so I can only apologize. You don't have any ambition at all. You just want to be a medicine farmer." Lu Chongxing said mockingly, "Don't worry, if you really enter the Medicine Immortal Valley, I will take good care of you." When the women of the Three Moons sect saw this, they knew that Qin Yun would have trouble entering the Medicine Immortal Valley in the future. They tried their best to rope Qin Yun in to be their medicine farmer. However, in the end, Qin Yun still rejected them. Lu Chongxing gave old Huang a meaningful glance. He did not know what he was planning to do. The second round will begin. It's still healing Xian medicine, but this time, the Xian medicine is more difficult to cure. As old Huang spoke, he took out 20 boxes filled with black Xian medicines. They are all Xian medicine seedlings that have been stained with poison. Old Huang said, "The first 5 to be cured can proceed to the next round." Qin Yun immediately took a box and quickly began. As for the female disciples of the Three Moons sect, Lu Chongxing and the others, they still did not leave. Obviously, they wanted to see if this young man named Qin Yun could become a medicine farmer of the Medicine Immortal Valley. Qin Yun quickly removed the poison from the inside of the Xian ginseng and quickly restored it to its golden color. Not long after, it was successfully cured. This caused the female disciples of the Moon sect to cry out in alarm. Lu Chongxing was also a little surprised because it was too fast. Even if it was him, it would take him half an hour to finish. After waiting for more than 2 hours, the 5th person was finally cured and another batch was eliminated. Next was the final round. The final round is more difficult. Each of you has a seed in your hands. Whoever makes the seed germinate the fastest will obtain the qualifications to become a medicine farmer in the Medicine Immortal Valley. Old Huang handed a black seed to Qin Yun and company. When Lu Chongxing saw the seed, a proud smile flashed across his face. Qin Yun also took the seed and felt that it was dead. There was not a single trace of life within it. Motherf *Ker, I've been tricked. Qin Yun was secretly infuriated. From beginning to end, he had not spoken a single word to Lu Chongxing, but he was still hated by the other party. When the female disciples of the Three Moons sect saw that Qin Yun's expression was not right, they guessed that there was a problem with the seed and felt somewhat guilty. Chapter 501. Saber Sword Villa, this seed is dead. Qin Yun's voice carried a hint of anger. Everyone revealed looks of surprise. You can't let the seed germinate, so you say it's dead. How ridiculous! Lu Chongqing's voice was filled with ridicule, and the pride on his face was not concealed at all. Senior, if the seed you gave me is not dead, let the seed germinate and prove it. Qin Yun handed over the seed and stared at old Huang's guilty eyes. Old Huang glanced at Lu Chongqing and said coldly, I am only responsible for reviewing the process. I have no obligation to verify the life and death of the seed. After Lu Chongqing heard this, he laughed out loud. An ordinary person actually wants to enter an immortal sect like the Medicine Immortal Valley? What wishful thinking! You scum, just give up. The seed is dead, that's just your bad luck. Qin Yun clenched his fist tightly and crushed the seed. An angry aura suddenly overflowed. Your Grasswood Star Palace took 100 million purple coins from me, but used such a trick to deceive me. If I don't take revenge for this, I, Qin Yun, swear that I am not a human. Your Grasswood Star Palace will pay a painful price for this in the future. Qin Yun's words were like knives, cold and threatening. The resentment in his words caused one's heart to tremble. Lu Chongqing disapproved. His voice was full of ridicule as he sneered. You, a guy who wants to be a medicine farmer, want to make our Grasswood Star Palace pay the price? What big words you have! Lu Chongqing, right? Remember this, even if you become a disciple of the Medicine Immortal Valley, one day I will take your dog life. Qin Yun was infuriated to the extreme. Originally, he was almost able to enter the Medicine Immortal Valley. However, Lu Chongqing was jealous and joined forces with the person in charge to obstruct him at the critical moment. Ha ha! You want me to remember you? Who do you think you are? Why should I remember trash like you? Lu Chongqing seemed to have heard the funniest joke as he laughed nonstop. His friends beside him also laughed mockingly. The female disciples of the Three Moons sect felt somewhat guilty. Because if they had not fought over Qin Yun to be a medicine farmer, it would not have aroused Lu Chongqing's jealousy. Qin Yun looked at the few elders present. They were all powerful spirit realm cultivators. Moreover, Lu Chongqing is wearing a Dao tool armor and it is difficult to kill him instantly and it is difficult to put him into the Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppression Cauldron. If he couldn't kill them in an instant, he would be besieged by the old men in the spiritual martial realm. Lu Chongqing, I will let you remember me. The moment Qin Yun's cold voice fell, he suddenly disappeared. When he appeared, his palm overflowed with black gas, with the power of vibration, violently hit Lu Chongqing's cheek. Boom! With a loud sound, Qin Yun's palm slapped Lu Chongqing's cheek and slapped him hard. The powerful slap only made Lu Chongqing's face crooked and left a palm mark, but it did not injure him. Because of the Dao artifact armor, it released a powerful defensive power. We'll meet again. The next time we meet will be the day you die. Qin Yun's voice, which was filled with resentment and anger, reverberated in the hall, shaking everyone's hearts. As for Qin Yun, he had already passed through the tree and disappeared from ancient Tree City. Ah! Lu Chongqing was stunned and roared angrily. Although he had a Dao artifact to protect him, he was still slapped in front of everyone and lost all his face. This time, he completely remembered Qin Yun's name. The people in the hall were also moved and remembered Qin Yun's name in their hearts. Qin Yun hurriedly left ancient Tree City. He will remember the enmity just now. At this time, he also knew that entering the immortal sect is extremely difficult. In the Spirit Desolate, one pays great attention to one's background, and he does not have a good background. Qin Yun left ancient Tree City and went to the Myriad Star sect after asking around. Now, he can only enter the 5-star sect first. After more than 10 days of rushing, he came to the gate of the Myriad Star sect and wanted to sign up for the assessment. However, because there is no prominent family behind him, he was rejected. Qin Yun was not discouraged and immediately went to Cold Star Valley. Just like before, because he did not have a prominent background and only had one spirit vein, he was rejected again. In the following month or so, Qin Yun went to Star Mountain Island and Sword Star Sect, and was also rejected. Even if he released his black martial spirit, he would not be taken seriously. This was because no one believed that he had a black martial spirit. He had a single spirit vein and did not have a prominent family background. In front of the 5 great star sects, he would only suffer all sorts of cold gazes and ridicule. It was already so difficult to enter the star sect, let alone the immortal sect. They actually don't even give me the chance to take the exam. Qin Yun stood on a mountain peak and looked at the 9 suns in the sky. He clenched his fists tightly. He recalled the contempt and ridicule he had received in those sects, but he did not feel angry because of it. Instead, he was filled with heroism. 5 great star sects in the future, I, Qin Yun, will definitely make all of you look up to me. Your mockery of me is encouragement to me. Even if I don't enter the star sect, I, Qin Yun, can still become a proud son of heaven and shake the spirit desolate. The 5 great star sects only accepted disciples of famous sects and 6 spiritual pulse bodies. As for the other martial artists, they refused to accept them. Even if it was a bloodline martial artist, they would not be able to tell the origin of their family. As for Qin Yun, he had no family background and only had 1 spirit vein. It could be said that he had suffered all sorts of ridicule. Even though he was at the 9th level of the martial Tao and had vigorous Tao power, he was still not taken seriously by the star sect. The spirit desolate land was vast and there were many sects. Other than the immortal sects and starry sects, there were also many second-rate sects to choose from. Qin Yun arrived at Saber Sword City. This was an incomparably huge city. In Saber Sword City, there was a Saber Sword Villa, a famous second-rate force. It was also the first choice of many disciples of prestigious families after they failed to enter the Star Door. The reason why Qin Yun chose Saber Sword Villa was because it was incomparably cruel. The assessment and competition were filled with challenges of death. It was precisely because of this that Saber Sword Villa was able to rise so quickly. Qin Yun harbored a strong desire to take revenge on Lu Chongxing and trample on the 5 great star sects as he headed for Saber Sword Villa. Qin Yun stood outside Saber Sword Villa and looked at the black iron gate of the villa. The gate was tens of meters tall, and the 2 gates on the left and right were tightly shut. The most shocking thing about this door was that the left door was filled with all kinds of sabers, and the right door was filled with all kinds of swords. There was no plaque, only a saber and sword gate. This was enough to prove that this was the Saber Sword Villa. Beneath the gate stood 2 burly men who were 2.5 meters tall. One of them held a saber, the other a sword. Big brothers, how do we participate in the assessment? Qin Yun walked over and asked. Go straight out of the east gate and you will see a dilapidated ancient city. Enter the ancient city and obtain a saber or sword from the ancient city and you will be qualified to participate in the assessment. Qin Yun did not ask any further questions and immediately ran towards the east gate. At an extremely fast speed, he ran towards the dilapidated ancient city. 4 hours later, Qin Yun arrived outside the ancient city. The ancient city gate was tightly shut. Outside the gate stood hundreds of 9th-level martial Tao cultivators. Most of them were disciples from prestigious families. They had all failed the assessment of the 5 great star sects, which was why they had chosen Saber Sword Villa. The elites outside the city gate all had arrogant expressions on their faces, as if they were determined to win. They believed that Saber Sword Villa was a second-rate power. No matter how difficult the assessment was, it would not be as difficult as the 5 great star sections. Therefore, they all felt that they would definitely pass the assessment. The gates of the dilapidated ancient city were always closed. When it opened, the competition for the spots would begin. Even the spots to participate in the assessment had to be fought over. How could this not be difficult? More and more people came, reaching 3,000. This was an annual competition for spots, and Qin Yun just happened to be in time for this period of time. Everyone waited for more than 10 days before a bearded middle-aged man dressed in black appeared above the city gate. In the middle of this ancient city, there are a total of 100 swords and sabers. If you want to obtain a spot in the assessment, you will have to obtain a weapon. Each person can only take one weapon. Those who take more will have their hands chopped off. With the weapons you have obtained, enter Saber Sword Villa and undergo the assessment. Killing each other is your grudge. Our Saber Sword Villa is not responsible for it. The voice of the black-clothed middle-aged man was like thunder. Moreover, it caused one's eardrums to vibrate. The door suddenly opened. As soon as a crack appeared, someone rushed over. The person who rushed over was a tall and skinny man. Just as he passed, he was killed by the golden-armored man who was chasing after him. The battle began from the moment they entered the gate. 3,000 people rushed into the gate like a flood. The interior of the Saber Sword ancient city was filled with dilapidated ancient buildings. This was an abandoned city. After Qin Yun entered, he jumped onto the roof of the dilapidated ancient building at an extremely fast speed. Like a nimble swallow, he quickly flew towards the center of the ancient city. He was one of the fastest people. In front of him, there were dozens of figures leaping towards the sword and saber pool in the middle of the ancient city. The sword and saber pool was very shallow. The swords and sabers that were stabbed into it were half exposed. When Qin Yun saw dozens of people fly over and quickly pull out their swords, he was secretly surprised. There are indeed crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the spirit desolate. Qin Yun was amazed. He had fallen behind the first group of people by a lot. However, he still obtained a long saber. The 9th level martial Dao here is much stronger than the ones I met in the martial desolate. Qin Yun held his saber in hand as he charged towards the door and looked at the dozens of figures in front of him. One had to know that the 9th level martial Dao that he had faced in the martial desolate were all from the 9 Sons sex or bloodline aristocrat families. Their strength was not weak at all. However, compared to the top group of people in the Spirit Desolate, they were still a bit lacking. The Spirit Desolate was very big, there were many people, and they had a long history. Therefore, there were even more young monstrous geniuses. Even a 9th level martial Dao cultivator, who failed to be selected by a 5-star sect, was still very powerful. The swords and sabers in the sword and saber pool were all snatched away in an instant. Those who did not get their hands on the swords and sabers chased closely behind, searching for targets to snatch. "Kid, hand over the saber in your hand." A young man with a face full of scars suddenly appeared beside Qin Yun and ran together with him. Qin Yun wanted to put the saber in his hand into his storage space, but the saber had special runes that prevented it from being placed in his storage space. He could only hold it in his hand. "No way," Qin Yun replied coldly. "Then die." The scar-faced youth stabbed his sword at Qin Yun's ear from the side. Qin Yun was infuriated. After dodging the sword, he controlled the 2 flying daggers to fly out. Swoosh! Swoosh! Under the control of Qin Yun's mental power, the 2 flying daggers pierced through the scar-faced youth, leaving bloody holes all over his body. The people nearby had originally wanted to snatch Qin Yun, but at that moment, they were all alarmed as they searched for other targets. There were 2 types of people that they did not dare to snatch. Those who were strong and had powerful family backgrounds. On the way to the gate, Qin Yun heard the sounds of a fierce battle coming from behind him. Many people were engaged in a fierce battle over the swords and sabers. In the evening, Qin Yun rushed out of the city gates of Saber Sword Ancient City and successfully obtained the qualifications. Chapter 502. 5 Great Clans. When the sky turned dark, the people who had obtained the swords and sabers also came out. The people who came out from behind. They were covered in blood and wounds. Many people were willing to risk their lives in order to snatch a qualification. But he still couldn't get the qualification. Everyone looked at the abandoned ancient city that reeked of blood and sighed. Although it was only a competition for qualifications, it was still a cruel test. The participants were all in the 9th stage of the martial path, and were limited to be under 30 years old. Martial artists under the age of 30 in the spiritual martial realm were very rare, so they would usually make an exception and recruit them into the sect. Those who obtain the sword and saber must arrive at the entrance of the Saber Sword Villa before dawn. Otherwise, they will be regarded as giving up. The black-clothed middle-aged man's thunderous voice shook the quiet night sky. A total of 200 people qualified for the examination. They returned to Saber Sword City overnight and stayed in an inn to rest. In the inn, Qin Yun looked at the saber in his hand. This saber was a mid-grade spiritual weapon carved with special star patterns, so it couldn't be put into the storage space. This saber is the identification for the entrance examination. Qin Yun held the saber tightly and rested on the bed. The sky was about to brighten, at the entrance of Saber Sword Villa. There were 200 young martial artists with swords and sabers in their hands, waiting for the assessment to begin. Qin Yun carried his saber on his back and waited in front of the door. In front of the gate, apart from the 200 participants, there were still many people watching. There were many disciples of the Saber Sword Villa among the onlookers. They were very interested in the new disciples in the future. The disciples of the 5 great clans of the Spirit Desolate Land have all come. The Long family, the Yu family, the Yang family, the Tian family, the Jian family. Is this really rare? Our proud star state is ranked 3rd in the Spirit Desolate. There are quite a few branches of the 5 great clans. In the entire Spirit Desolate, the Long family and the Yang family are tied for first place, followed by the Jian family, followed by the Yu family and the Tian family. The 5 great clans are the strongest first echelon clans in the Spirit Desolate. Each clan has dozens of branches that cover the entire Spirit Desolate and Magical Desolate. The second echelon families are the Ji family, the Lu family, the Ying family, the Yi family, the Xiao family, the Sun family, the Feng family, the Xia family and the Dongfeng family. There are also disciples participating in the assessment. In the end, there are only 15 disciples who will enter the Saber Sword Villa. Could it be that they are all locked onto them? These 15 families are the strongest ancient martial arts families in the Spirit Desolate Land. They actually came to participate in our Saber Sword Villa's assessment. Is our Saber Sword Villa preparing to rise? If we absorb this batch of outstanding aristocratic families juniors, it is very likely that we will be on par with the 5 major star sects. I'm really looking forward to the final results. The assessment this time must be very cruel. At least 2 people from the 15 aristocratic families have come. There were a total of 40 to 50 of them, but only 15 of them passed the test. The 200 martial artists who were preparing for the assessment suddenly felt a great deal of pressure. This was especially true for those who came from the smaller families. They were under the most pressure. Previously, Qin Yun had discovered quite a number of bloodline warriors. They were all from those big families. With such a background, he still can't enter the 5 great star sects. Someone lamented. The reason why our proud star state's 5 great star sects can stand tall in the Spirit Desolate for so many years is also because we will never accept trash martial artists. The Spirit Desolate has the proud star state, the soaring dragon state, the Phoenix State, the Blue Moon State and the Sky Sun State. The region Qin Yun was in was the Proud Star State. It was extremely vast. If he wanted to go to other provinces, he would have to take a ship for 1 or 2 months. The journey was dangerous. At dawn, the 2 doors of Saber Sword Villa opened. The black-clothed middle-aged man from yesterday walked out. You will head to the Red Demon Desolate Domain and hunt horned demon wolves inside. The 15 people who obtain the most wolf horns will become disciples of my saber sword villa. We will depart at noon. You can form your own teams now. The black-clothed middle-aged man's voice was as frightening as ever. It exploded like thunder. Qin Yun was secretly alarmed. He never expected that Saber Sword Villa would actually control a desolate domain. There were horned demon wolves in the desolate domain. It could be seen that this desolate domain was in the magical desolate domain. From the astonishment of the crowd, Qin Yun learned that the horned demon wolf was a Xian magical beast. It was equivalent to a martial artist of the spirit realm. Remember, don't lose or damage the swords in your hands. Otherwise, no matter how many wolf horns you obtain, it will be useless, the black-clothed middle-aged man said again. At the scene, there were already people forming teams. I am Long Wuchen. I plan to form a team of 8. If you want to join my team, you will need to pass my test. A tall and skinny man shouted. This man wore a golden-carved soft armor. His thin face was filled with arrogance and his voice was filled with an uncomfortable arrogance. Qin Yun did not know which team to join because other than him, everyone else had a background and knew their background. You are not a descendant of any aristocratic family, but you were able to obtain a saber so quickly. Your strength should be pretty good. A short man suddenly came over and pulled Qin Yun towards Long Wuchen. Long Wuchen looked at Qin Yun and said coldly, to be able to obtain the qualifications without any injuries, it can be considered to be above average. If you pass my test, you can join my team. How do you want to test? Qin Yun asked. Long Wuchen took out a crystal ball and placed it in front of Qin Yun. He said, put your hand on it. Qin Yun was the first martial artist to take the test. He attracted the attention of many people. He placed his hand on the crystal ball and a dot of light appeared on it. One sun spirit vein? Long Wuchen frowned and his voice was filled with ridicule. It's actually such trash. Scram. Qin Yun clenched his fists slightly and said coldly, so what if it's a one sun spirit vein? I am also at the 9th level of the martial Dao, and my Dao power is not weak at all. I don't care what you do. In my eyes, a one sun spirit vein is trash. Long Wuchen sneered, the heavens do not allow you to cultivate but you go against the heavens. You are destined to not live for long. Qin Yun was furious. Now that he was in the assessment stage, he could not fight. He could only suppress the anger in his heart. When he entered Saber Sword Villa in the future, he would have the opportunity to teach Long Wuchen a lesson. Hurry up and scram. You bastard, it's simply a waste to get a spot. Exactly. Hurry up and scram. I disdain to be associated with such a fellow. He clearly has the same bloodline but he doesn't know how to accept his fate. Fighting with the heavens will not end well. He looks like he has a short life. I wonder how he stepped into the 9th level of the martial Dao. Many of the aristocratic family's disciples immediately mocked Qin Yun loudly in order to welcome Long Wuchen. A handsome young man dressed in red from the Yang family shouted at Qin Yun, come here and let me see if you really have the same bloodline. I might let you join the team. Long Wuchen was from the Long family, one of the 5 great clans. Although he was arrogant, he was very prestigious. The Yang family was also one of the 5 great clans. It was naturally not bad to join his team. When Qin Yun saw Yang Mutian of the Yang family, he walked over with a smile on his face. Yang Mutian took out a crystal ball and asked Qin Yun to place his hand on it. Everyone immediately looked over. A dot of light appeared on the crystal ball. It really is a bloodline. Haha. This kind of legendary bloodline martial artist is very rare. Yang Mutian laughed loudly. All right, I'm sure that you are from the same bloodline. You can scram now. The muscles on Qin Yun's face immediately trembled as his expression turned incomparably cold. What is it? Do you really think that I would let trash like you join the team? How naive, How could I possibly accept you? Yang Mutian continued to laugh loudly. I just want to take this opportunity to humiliate you. Big Brother Yang is a descendant of the Yang family. It's your fortune for him to humiliate you. That's right. You, a guy with no background, actually want to climb up to our Big Brother Yang? You actually naively think that Big Brother Yang will let you join the team? Laughable, laughable. The lackeys beside Yang Mutian were also teasing Qin Yun. Qin Yun's expression was incomparably cold as he turned and left the area where Yang Mutian was. He looked at the saber in his hand and suppressed the anger in his heart. He knew very well that his strength was definitely not weaker than the disciples of these super families. Strength had to be displayed through battle. He couldn't fight here, so he couldn't display his strength. Long family, Yang family, don't look down on others. It's not easy for him to be able to step into the 9th level of the martial Tao with just one bloodline. The woman from the Yu clan, Yu Wulan, said with a faint smile. Yu Wulan was wearing a light yellow dress. Her soft and beautiful skin was like cream and her beautiful jade-like face had a sweet smile on it. She was also testing the abilities of a martial artist and choosing her teammate. Yu Wulan, if you think he's not bad, then let him join your team. Yang Mutian smiled. You're just saying it to sound nice, but you definitely wouldn't do such a stupid thing, right? Indeed, I won't let him join my team, but I won't make fun of him, much less tease him. Yu Wulan smiled softly. Yu Wulan, don't pretend to be innocent and kind. Dancing under the moon, blood surged like a raging wave. It's a description of the scene when you kill people. The number of people you've killed is no less than the number I've killed. Long Wuchen sneered. There were 2 or 3 disciples from each of the 5 clans, but they weren't in the same team. It could be seen that their relationship wasn't good. Many small teams gradually formed, and they were all strictly screened. Almost all the disciples of the 5 great clans were captains. They had all absorbed the disciples of the 10 great families from the 2nd echelon. Tian Ruling, your team only has 3 people. Yu Wulan smiled like a flower. Why don't you join my team? Tian Ruling was a disciple of the Tian family, and she was a woman. She was very tall and beautiful. She was 1.8 meters tall and strong. She had a head full of neat shoulder-length hair, and a strong power seemed to flow under her tanned skin. She wore a dark green tight suit that outlined her wild curves. Qin Yun had seen a woman like this before. Lan Fengjin was one of them. However, Lan Fengjin was wild and charming with a hint of tenderness. As for Tian Ruling, she was wild and filled with killing intent. Her entire body exuded a domineering aura. Her originally beautiful eyes were now filled with coldness and ruthlessness. Her gaze was like a sword filled with killing intent, causing people to feel an inexplicable chill. Chapter 503. Horned Demon Wolf. Tian Ruling had actually allowed Qin Yun to join her team. Many people could not understand this. Tian Ruling, do you want to tease me? Yu Wulan giggled. That's not good. Besides, he only has 1 bloodline. Do you really plan on taking him? Tian Ruling did not even look at Yu Wulan and continued to look at Qin Yun. I don't care how many spirit veins he has, as long as he can fight. Qin Yun had originally planned to be alone, but he was very interested in a woman like Tian Ruling. Alright, I'll take your palm. I hope you're serious. Qin Yun said slowly before standing firmly on the spot. I'm not that kind of boring idiot. Tian Ruling shouted softly, watch my palm. She was only a few meters away from Qin Yun. As she rushed over, she set off a threatening chill. She pushed her palm towards Qin Yun's chest and attacked very quickly. The moment Qin Yun saw Tian Ruling fly over, his entire body turned ice cold. A layer of red frost formed on the surface of his body. Tian Ruling's jade-like palm surged with ice-cold Tao power. It caused the surrounding people to feel a chill in their hearts. Bang! Tian Ruling's palm struck Qin Yun's chest. A violent snowstorm immediately set off in the surroundings. The surrounding dozens of meters were covered in ice and snow. Qin Yun stood motionless and used his body to receive Tian Ruling's palm strike. His body could be described as motionless. "Alright, you're my teammate." Tian Ruling's face revealed a look of shock as she slowly retracted her palm. Her eyes revealed a trace of satisfaction. Yu Wulan, Yang Mutian and Long Wuchen were all moved. To be able to receive Tian Ruling's palm strike meant that Qin Yun had strength equivalent to hers. "Captain, he only has one bloodline. Is that alright?" Yi Qixing's handsome face revealed a look of displeasure. When he looked at Qin Yun, his eyes were filled with contempt. Yi Qixing was a disciple of the Yi family and also a member of Tian Ruling's team. For him to be able to pass Tian Ruling's test, his strength was not bad. With great strength, what does it matter if it's a bloodline? I want to choose strong teammates, not trash with a lot of spirit veins. Tian Ruling said coldly. Yang Mutian sneered. Tian Ruling, look, your teammates don't accept you. The items of that bloodline are not worth you accepting at all. Long Wuchen said, the reason why he was able to receive Tian Ruling's palm strike is because he has a Dao artifact armor on him. This is not his true strength. Dao artifact armor. This caused the surrounding people to exclaim. Many people immediately revealed looks of greed. Even in the spirit desolate, Dao armor was extremely precious. He has a Dao tool to assist him in the assessment. This is unfair. Someone complained. If you have it, you can use it too. The black-clothed middle-aged man said coldly. Using a Dao artifact armor is also a manifestation of strength. As disciples of the 5 great clans, we don't even have such a thing. Yu Wulan's eyes flowed as she looked at Qin Yun affectionately. However, Qin Yun ignored her. Long Wuchen and Yang Mutian were both feeling a little uncomfortable, because they had missed a person with a Dao artifact armor. His Dao artifact armor must have been snatched. Long Wuchen said disdainfully, to be able to unleash 10% of the Dao artifact armor's power is already not bad. With such a precious item, you have to be careful. Yang Mutian looked at Qin Yun and laughed sinisterly. Many people looked at Qin Yun like wolves, wishing that they could peel off the armor on his body. In Tian Ruling's team, there was another member named Dongfang Chao. He could not be considered very handsome. However, his face was square, giving off a very upright feeling. He wore a luxurious golden-red robe, making him look especially noble. Dongfang Chao said with a smile, "One spirit vein has strength, that is also strength. I am Dongfang Chao, how should I address you, brother?" Qin Yun. Qin Yun had a good impression of Dongfang Chao and quickly replied. When they heard the 2 words, Qin Yun, the group of aristocratic family disciples fell into a state of shock. Is it the guy who slapped Lu Chongxing? Lu Chongxing was slapped by a guy named Qin Yun in ancient Tree City. However, he did not admit it himself. Someone else said it. It looks like it's true. This Qin Yun fellow is quite capable. Ability my ass. Lu Chongxing is a disciple of an immortal sect. He will definitely take revenge on him in the future. This guy is unlucky to have offended someone like Lu Chongxing. To be able to enter an immortal sect was the dream of all the aristocratic family disciples here. Although Lu Chongxing was an outer sect disciple of an immortal sect, to the aristocratic family disciples here, he was an existence that they could only look up to. Qin Yun found it strange because the news of him being in the Martial Desolate had not reached here. He suspected that most of the people from the Martial Desolate were not in the Proud Star Province. Some of the upper echelons of the Spirit Desolate seemed to want to hide this matter. At noon, the black-clothed middle-aged man took out a medium-sized flying ship and carried everyone out of Sabersword City. The speed of this medium-sized flying ship was extremely fast. In the evening, it brought everyone to a desolate mountain in the magical desolate land. Saber Sword City was not far from the magical desolate land, so they could arrive very quickly. The entrance to the red evil desolate domain was a red screen of light. The black-clothed middle-aged man said, 10 days later, come out on time and end the assessment. The participants all entered the red screen of light and were brought out of the red evil desolate domain. This was the desolate domain controlled by Saber Sword Villa. Only with the permission of Saber Sword Villa could one enter. Tian Ruling, you have to keep an eye on your team members. Not only does he have a Dao artifact armor, he even offended Lu Chongxing. Many people want to kill him. Yu Wulan said. Whoever wants to kill my team members wants to kill me. Tian Ruling's voice was filled with killing intent as she looked at Long Wuchen and Yang Mutian. Very quickly, many teams entered the ancient forest of the red evil desolate domain in search of horned demon wolves. There were a lot of horned demon wolves here, because there was a lot of beast oil in the red evil desolate domain that could breed many powerful magical beasts. The horned demon wolf was a Xian magical beast. Even a martial artist who had just entered the spirit realm had to be cautious. Hunting horned demon wolves was extremely dangerous. Even if many powerful 9th-level martial Dao cultivators joined forces, it would not be easy to succeed. Yi Qixing looked at Qin Yun with eyes filled with contempt. What's the use of just having a Dao artifact armor? It's not like we can fight. Captain, our team doesn't have many people to begin with. Why do we need to bring someone who will drag us down? Yi Qixing was extremely dissatisfied with Qin Yun and even had a trace of hostility. Yi Qixing, with your strength, it won't be a problem for you to join another team. Why do you want to stay? Dongfang Chao said with a smile. It can't be that you want to pursue the captain, right? Tian Ruling's face turned cold as she said, no more nonsense. Let's go. Qin Yun did not say anything, but he was secretly wary of Yi Qixing. In the evening, it was time for the horned demon wolves to come out to hunt. There were horned demon wolves that lived in groups, and there were also lone wolves. There were quite a few of them. The goal of these teams was those lone wolves. Evening quickly passed. In the dense ancient forest, there were many tall weeds and many poisonous insects were hidden within. In the pitch-black ancient forest, all sorts of strange insect cries could be heard. It was very eerie and frightening. Tian Ruling walked in front and used her cold power to force back the various poisonous insects that were about to fly over. In the middle of the night, she held a glowing stone in her hand in the forest and was not afraid of attracting the attacks of a group of beasts. Dongfang Chao was originally very cheerful and calm, but at this moment, his expression became nervous. Yi Qixing's face was filled with displeasure. We won't kill the Xian magical beast. If the lone wolf senses our auras, it will definitely hide far away. Qin Yun suddenly said. You only know how to talk. Do you have the ability to find a single horned demon wolf? Yi Qixing immediately reprimanded. If you don't do anything, shut up. You're here to take advantage of me. Qin Yun did not say a word because Tian Ruling thought highly of him. Therefore, he had to give Tian Ruling face. Otherwise, he would have turned around and left long ago. Yi Qixing, be a little more polite. Tian Ruling said with a cold face, Qin Yun joining my team is my decision. Since you have chosen to be my team member, you have to respect my decision. Yi Qixing looked at Qin Yun and a ruthless look flashed across his eyes. His expression also turned gloomy. Captain, I have a talisman that can track magical beasts. However, I can't guarantee that I won't be able to find a single demon wolf. Qin Yun suddenly said. Right now, the most important thing was to enter Saber Sword Villa. As long as he entered Saber Sword Villa, he could slowly settle the scores in the future. Hurry up and take it out. A hint of joy flashed across Tian Ruling's cold eyes. Qin Yun handed the devil-chasing talisman to Tian Ruling and said, Captain, if we meet a pack of wolves, don't blame me. I won't blame you. Tian Ruling activated the talisman and slowly chased after it. Not long after, there was the aura of a magical beast in front of them. Tian Ruling quickly put away the devil-chasing talisman and returned it to Qin Yun. She shouted, "It's a lone wolf, let's go." Tian Ruling was not afraid in the slightest when facing a Xian magical beast level-horned demon wolf. The horned demon wolf was about 100 meters in front of them. It wasn't very big and was only about 3 meters long. It was considered small among magical beasts. Its entire body was covered in black armor, and there was a half-meter-long black horn on its head. It was extremely sharp. The first to attack was Tian Ruling. She held a long black saber in her hand and arrived in a flash. The moment the saber slashed down, an incomparably strong ice-cold power enveloped a radius of more than 10 meters. Qin Yun was more than 100 meters away from Tian Ruling, but he also felt a bone-piercing chill. The horned demon wolf wanted to stab at Tian Ruling with its sharp horn, but its entire body was frozen. Swish! Tian Ruling's long saber slashed down as killing intent filled the sky. That coldness made people feel terrified. Her saber cut through the ice and landed on the horned demon wolf's black armor, producing a burst of sparks. The horned demon wolf's black armor was extremely sturdy. Tian Ruling's long saber was only a mid-grade spirit artifact. It was impossible to cut through. At this moment, Dongfang Chao also rushed over. The long sword stabbed out and pierced into the horned demon wolf's eyes. The horned demon wolf let out a howl as demonic energy surged out, shattering the ice on its body. Qin Yun held a Xian artifact saber in his hand as he descended from the sky. He executed the wind-slaying mountain-splitting style and slashed at the horned demon wolf's neck. After all, it was a Xian artifact saber. It was able to cut through the thick black armor of the horned demon wolf in an instant. "I'll continue to freeze." Tian Ruling saw the horned demon wolf struggling and immediately shouted. Waves of intense ice-cold power froze the horned demon wolf. Chapter 504. Loyal dog. Looking at the falling wolf head, Tian Ruling and Dongfang Chao were both surprised. Tian Ruling had wanted to cut off the wolf's head, but the horned demon wolf's armor was too stiff and difficult to break. With a few slashes, Qin Yun easily chopped off the wolf's head. Not a bad saber. Dongfang Chao laughed heartily. I have to say, the captain's eyes are good. Pulling you into the team is simply our luck. Although Tian Ruling did not say anything, she also believed that Qin Yun had brought them great convenience. It was impossible to deal with a horned demon wolf without a good weapon. Furthermore, Qin Yun had also provided them with the devil-chasing talisman, allowing them to quickly find the horned demon wolf. Yi Qixing had been watching from afar and snorted in disdain. His eyes were filled with jealousy and greed. Dao artifact armor and Xian artifact sabers were all very precious items. At most, these disciples of aristocratic families would only have royal-grade spirit weapons. Only a very small number of outstanding disciples would have Xian artifact. Only under special circumstances would the elders of the clan lend their Dao tools to them. Tian Ruling kept the wolf head. She did not want the body. The bones and armor of a Xian beast were good materials for refining Xian artifact. Qin Yun had many storage treasures, so he was not afraid of taking up space. He kept the wolf's body. Continue, Tian Ruling said. Qin Yun took out the devil-chasing talisman and said, Captain, I'll give you this talisman. 500,000 purple coins, I'll buy it. Tian Ruling did not want to accept Qin Yun's gift, but she also wanted the talisman. Alright. Qin Yun hurriedly took out his purple card. He received Tian Ruling's 500,000 purple coins. Brother Qin, this kind of talisman should be very precious. My family doesn't have this kind of talisman. Dongfang Chao praised. Can you sell me one? I'll pay 600,000 purple coins. Alright. Qin Yun felt that Dongfang Chao was not bad, but he liked to flatter. Dongfang Chao smiled and hurriedly bought it. He said, Brother Qin, you are truly our lucky star. Yang Mutian and Long Wuchen, these two fellows are really looking down on us. Tian Ruling looked at Dongfang Chao and said with an ice-cold expression, Dongfang Chao, this kind of talisman is very rare. Don't sell it. Don't worry, I definitely won't. Dongfang Chao laughed dryly. It could be seen that he really planned to sell it. Qin Yun, sell me one too. 500,000. Yi Qixing hurriedly walked over and shouted in a commanding tone. If he were to sell them, he would be able to earn more than 1 million or even 2 million. Yi Qixing naturally wanted to earn this sum of purple crystal coins. No more. Qin Yun turned his head away. Bastard, you definitely have more. Yi Qixing was immediately infuriated. He grabbed Qin Yun's clothes and shouted in a sinister voice. Yi Qixing, let him go. Tian Ruling's beautiful and ice-cold face was immediately filled with killing intent. Yi Qixing released Qin Yun and said angrily, Tian Ruling, you saw it too. This guy doesn't treat me as a teammate. If you want the devil-chasing talisman, I'll sell it to you. Tian Ruo's cold eyes were filled with killing intent as she handed over the devil-chasing talisman in her hand. Yi Qixing did not dare to take it, and his anger gradually disappeared. Trash from this lineage. They were just lucky to pick up a few things. Tian Ruling said coldly, don't let that happen again in the future. Otherwise, scram. Of course, Yi Qixing wouldn't leave, because they had just obtained a wolf horn very easily. Although he did not wish to admit it, he knew that Qin Yun had brought good luck to the team. This also made him even more unhappy because he was jealous of the good things on Qin Yun's body. He was jealous that Qin Yun had received Tian Ruling's praise. Tian Ruling took out the devil-chasing talisman and continued searching for magical beasts. Is there only horned demon wolves in the Red Demon Desolate Domain? Qin Yun asked softly. There should be other magical beasts, but there are more horned demon wolves, Dongfang Chao said. Late at night, the moonlight and starlight in the desolate region were as bright as outside, and in the pitch-black and dense forest, danger was surging. Tian Ruling, who was walking in front, quickly put away the devil-chasing talisman and said in a deep voice, There are wolves ahead, let's go around them. Yi Qixing gripped his sword and his expression changed. He quickly retreated. Suddenly, he stepped on something and shouted, Poisonous snake! This shout caused Tian Ruling's expression to change greatly. So. Several horned demon wolves hurriedly flew over. They surrounded them. Yi Qixing, you stupid donkey! Tian Ruling cursed. I'm just reminding you that there are poisonous snakes here. When Yi Qixing saw that he was surrounded by horned demon wolves, he immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Even the usually calm Dongfang Chao's legs were trembling at this moment. However, he said, Don't worry, we have to believe in our captain's strength. She will definitely lead us through this crisis. Isn't it just being surrounded by horned demon wolves? I, Dongfang Chao, have never been afraid. Dongfang Chao, who was forcing himself to remain calm, felt his legs tremble. There were a total of 15 horned demon wolves surrounding them. There was also a larger one that should be the leader. The horned demon wolves surrounded Qin Yun and company as they growled in a low voice. They were filled with killing intent and looked extremely ferocious and frightening. Tian Ruling said in a deep voice, I will seal the horned demon wolf in ice. You must use your fastest speed to injure or kill the horned demon wolf. I won't be able to hold on for long. With that, her entire body emitted a white light. 15 glowing ice belts suddenly appeared on the ground where her boots were stepping on. The ice belt shot towards the 15 horned demon wolves like lightning. It was also at this moment that the surrounding cold air assaulted them. It was as if winter had suddenly arrived. The growling horned demon wolf was also wrapped in frost, unable to move in place. After the wolf pack appeared, Qin Yun was the calmest. He was also the fastest to attack. He flew over and released the 9 extinction Dao power. He infused it into the Dao saber and chopped off a wolf's head with a single slash. Dongfang Chao also attacked, but he could only pierce through the eyes of the demon wolf and attack its head. Yi Qixing learned from Dongfang Chao and attacked the eyes and head of the demon wolf. Although they were at the 9th level martial Dao, they were facing a Xian magical beast that was comparable to the spirit realm. Without a good weapon, it would be difficult to break through the defense of the Xian magical beast. Dongfang Chao looked at Qin Yun as he chopped off a wolf's head with a single slash. He was filled with envy. He immediately felt that he and Yi Qixing were of no use at all. Qin Yun circled around and successfully chopped off all the wolf heads. 15 Xian magical beasts were killed in an instant. This caused Dongfang Chao to find it hard to believe, because facing such a powerful horde of Xian magical beasts, only the spirit realm could handle it. Yi Qixing looked at the saber in Qin Yun's hand and his eyes filled with even more greed and jealousy. Tian Ruling let out a breath of cold air. Her fit and beautiful body also swayed slightly. Just now, she had expended a lot of energy and her internal energy had almost been emptied. Captain! Yi Qixing hurriedly ran over and injected a wave of inner force into Tian Ruling's body. Dongfang Chao also went over and channeled his inner force into Tian Ruling. As for Qin Yun, he kept the wolf heads and bodies. Qin Yun, quickly hand the wolf heads over to the captain. Yi Qixing said. When the captain is ready, I will naturally hand it over to him. Qin Yun said, we need to leave this place as soon as possible. Cut the crap, take out the wolf heads and place them on the ground. Yi Qixing shouted lightly, what if you run away? If the wolf heads are placed on the ground, they will only attract the nearby horned demon wolves. Qin Yun's expression changed as he said coldly. As Yi Qixing spoke, the sword in his hand suddenly stabbed out fiercely, piercing through Dongfang Chao's heart. This happened too quickly. Dongfang Chao immediately shouted angrily, Yi Qixing, what are you doing? Yi Qixing hurriedly pulled out his sword and pushed Dongfang Chao away with a palm. Then, he placed the sword across Tian Ruling's neck. Qin Yun, hand over the wolf heads, as well as the Dao armor and saber in your hand. Yi Qixing laughed sinisterly. He gently caressed Tian Ruling's ice-cold face and smiled even more wretchedly and malevolently. Qin Yun, take Dongfang Chao away. Tian Ruling was also extremely furious as her body trembled slightly. She had expended a lot of energy just now and was unable to resist at all. Haha, you won't be able to leave. I've informed Big Brother Yang, and he will bring people over soon. Yi Qixing laughed sinisterly. Yi Qixing, no wonder you refused to leave the team. So you are a loyal dog sent by Yang Mutian. Dongfang Chao said angrily. Yi Qixing smiled proudly and said, Big Brother Yang treats me like a brother. I didn't expect that something from this lineage would be so capable. My harvest this time is truly huge. Yi Qixing, I've wanted to kill you for a long time. Qin Yun, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said slowly. If you have the ability, then come at me. Yi Qixing laughed loudly. Yi Qixing, aren't you afraid of the Tian family's revenge? Dongfang Chao healed himself and shouted angrily. You're all dead. How did the Tian family know? Besides, Big Brother Yang has long wanted to go up to Tian Ruling. However, I'm the one who wants to go up to her first. Yi Qixing laughed loudly. Qin Yun, kill me and Yi Qixing. Tian Ruling's expression was cold. There was no fear in her eyes. She only felt anger and disgust. Qin Yun took out a body-securing talisman and threw it at him. Yi Qixing, who was laughing complacently, was immediately frozen. The moment he was frozen, Qin Yun flashed over and slashed at Yi Qixing's arm. Then, he stabbed his saber into Yi Qixing's chest. Qin Yun held his saber and lifted Yi Qixing up. Then, he struck his abdomen with his palm. The originally complacent Yi Qixing was now in pain and fear. He was sent flying and crashed into a large tree. Body securing talisman. Yi Qixing spat out a mouthful of blood as he shouted in fear. Qin Yun raised his hand and released a stream of air. It swept Yi Qixing, who was like mud in the distance, over and heavily smashed him to the ground. Captain, I'll leave it to you, Qin Yun said slowly. Dongfang Chao and Tian Ruling looked at Qin Yun in a daze. Especially Tian Ruling. She thought that she was finished. She never expected that Qin Yun would be able to turn the situation around so easily. Yang Mutian and the others want it. Let's leave this place first, Tian Ruling said coldly. Dongfang Chao stood up and said, I can walk by myself. Take care of the captain. Qin Yun tied Yi Qixing up and kept him in his storage spirit artifact. Then, he carried Tian Ruling on his back and ran away with Dongfang Chao. After Yang Mutian received the sound transmission, he hurriedly rushed over. Chapter 505. The human heart is treacherous. Within the red demon desolate domain, there were not only powerful horned demon wolves, there were also other sinister cultivators. Qin Yun carried Tian Ruling on his back and left the place. Brother Dongfang, are your injuries all right? Qin Yun asked after putting Tian Ruling down. I'm fine now. I'm not a vegetarian. Dongfang Chao's recovery ability was indeed very shocking. His heart had been pierced, but now it was as if nothing had happened. Tian Ruling had used up a lot of energy to freeze the dozen or so horned demon wolves and was unable to recover in a short period of time. That bastard Yang Mutian actually placed Yi Qixing in my place. When Tian Ruling recalled this matter, she could not help but become angry. Qin Yun immediately released Yi Qixing. Yi Qixing was tied up, lying on the ground, struggling and shouting. Captain, I'll leave this bastard to you. Qin Yun grabbed Yi Qixing's hair and sneered. Big brother Qin, don't kill me. I'm just a dog. As long as you spare my life, I'll even eat shit. Yi Qixing begged bitterly. When Tian Ruling saw Yi Qixing, she became even angrier. Qin Yun, kill him. Don't kill me, don't kill me. A despicable person like Yi Qixing was also very afraid of death. He quickly begged, Grandpa Qin, I was wrong, please spare my dog life. Qin Yun's expression was grave and stern. He spread out his 5 fingers and turned them into claws. He fiercely grabbed Yi Qixing's abdomen, penetrated it, and took out the Dao core inside. There is a martial spirit inside the Dao core. This is also one of the more precious things on Yi Qixing. You grabbed my Dao core, this is a huge taboo. Yi Qixing screamed miserably, his face ashen. Dongfang Chao walked over and said, Let me kill him. With that, he swung his sword at Yi Qixing's head. Yi Qixing's head was also kept by Dongfang Chao. At daybreak, the 9 suns rose. Although it was daytime, the red demon desolate domain was still filled with hidden dangers. Tian Ruling also recovered. Qin Yun once again sensed the wild and dangerous aura from her body. He immediately felt much more at ease. Tian Ruling took out the devil-chasing talisman and continued to track the horned demon wolf. She had a rough understanding of Qin Yun's strength. Even if they encountered a pack of demon wolves, they would be able to deal with it if they joined hands. The 3-man team traversed the dense forest nimbly and vigilantly. Captain, if we encounter a demon wolf pack, can we discuss our battle strategy? Qin Yun followed behind Tian Ruling and suddenly asked. Sure. Tian Ruling also knew that Qin Yun had hidden his strength very deeply. Furthermore, he was a good person and was trustworthy. Dongfang Chao didn't say anything. After all, he had taken a huge advantage. Under the guidance of the devil-chasing talisman, Tian Ruling chased for more than 4 hours before suddenly stopping. There's a pack of wolves ahead. There are about 20 of them. Tian Ruling looked at Qin Yun coldly. What strategy do you have? Qin Yun took out a spirit eyeball and released it. Under his control, the spirit eye flew forward and observed the pack of horned demon wolves. "I can kill the leader first," Qin Yun said when he saw the larger horned demon wolf. "If the wolves come, I'll go and freeze them." Tian Ruling said coldly, "If you succeed, take me away." Qin Yun said with a frown, "Captain, don't use your full strength." "Then what should we do?" Tian Ruling said. "I have a body-securing talisman that can stop the horned demon wolf for a short period of time," Qin Yun said. As he spoke, he took out a few sabers and swords. They were all Dao artifacts. Seeing these Dao artifacts, Tian Ruling and Dongfang Chao's hearts thumped. Tian Ruling came from the Tian family and was very clear on the preciousness of Dao artifact. It was difficult for ordinary disciples to obtain them. As for Qin Yun, he had quite a few. "I trust you, so I'll lend it to you for the time being," Qin Yun said. Although they had never refined a Dao artifact, they could use it to break through the horned demon wolf's defense. Tian Ruling put her saber on her back and Dongfang Chao sheathed his sword on his back. They did not use the weapons of saber sword villa. Those things were simply unable to break through the thick armor of the horned demon wolf. Dongfang Chao held a blue longsword in his hand and trembled with excitement. He sighed and said, "Even if you sell me, you won't be able to afford this sword." Tian Ruling looked at the 1.5-meter-long black saber in her hand and a trace of excitement appeared in her eyes. Qin Yun took out the Xian royal cannon and said, "Wait a moment, let's act according to the situation." He floated high in the sky, aimed at the horned demon wolf leader and fired. Boom! The 9th-level martial Dao's Pill Dao was used as a cannonball. With a single shot, the trees within a radius of a few hundred meters were flattened and the sound of the explosion reverberated in the sky. The demon wolf leader's body was torn apart by the explosion. The other horned demon wolves were also stunned by the explosion. At this moment, Tian Ruling and Dongfang Chao also hurriedly rushed over. They did not use the body-securing talisman that Qin Yun had given them. Tian Ruling was the fastest and her strength was also the most terrifying. She was already very tall and at this moment, with a Dao artifact in her hand, she looked like a mighty female general. Her entire body was filled with killing intent and her aura was domineering. She, who had entered the pack of wolves, injected her primordial Dao energy into the large saber. With a light shout, she slashed out with her saber. The long and large saber landed on the back of the horned demon wolf and cut it into two. Dongfang Chao used an exquisite earth-level sword technique to pierce through the horned demon wolf's head and kill it. Although the horned demon wolf's attack was very fierce, Dongfang Chao and Tian Ruling's movement techniques were extremely superb and they could easily dodge it. Qin Yun descended from the sky and brandished his saber as he crazily slashed at the horned demon wolf. Dongfang Chao and Tian Ruling thoroughly felt how important it was to have a powerful weapon. The broken swords and sabers they had used before were unable to break through the horned demon wolf's defense. After switching to a Dao artifact, he could use his strongest power to kill the horned demon wolf in one move. 20 horned demon wolves were killed in an instant. Dongfang Chao looked at the wolf corpses on the ground and said in disbelief, "Is this still a Xian beast? It's too easy to kill them. I want the magical beast cores and corpses," Qin Yun said. Tian Ruling and Dongfang Chao hurriedly took out the crystal cores and gave them to Qin Yun. After putting away the corpses, they quickly left the battlefield. In the afternoon, they encountered another group of demon wolves and were quickly killed. They had only been in here for 2 days, and they had already killed more than 50 horned demon wolves. At night, Tian Ruling ordered them to rest. After a safe night, Tian Ruling continued forward after daybreak. They passed through the dense forest and a large flat area appeared in front of them. "This is a devil swamp, let's fly over." Tian Ruling floated in the air and said, "This swamp is poisonous, you must be careful." Qin Yun looked at the flat ground below him and was secretly astonished. Although this swamp was very calm, it gave people a very frightening feeling, as if there was some kind of terrifying beast hidden in it. After they passed through the swamp, they landed on the ground and looked at the barren hill area in front of them. Hoo hoo hoo! Just as they landed on the ground, a group of people suddenly jumped out. Yang Yuhao, what are you doing? Tian Ruling's eyes flashed with a cold light as she looked at the 7 people surrounding them. Yang Yuhao was also a disciple of the Yang family and was slightly weaker than Yang Mutian. He was tall and sturdy and had a fierce square face. Why are there only 3 of you left? Yang Yuhao looked at Qin Yun and smiled sinisterly. Yi Qixing is dead, Tian Ruling said coldly. Yang Yuhao stared at Qin Yun and said, this fellow from the same bloodline has a Dao artifact armor on him. I like it very much. Are you trying to steal my team? Tian Ruling immediately said angrily. No, 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 I just want to steal Qin Yun. You can just let him leave the team and join our team. Yang Yuhao laughed. He was not afraid of Tian Ruling at all. Tian Ruling became even more furious because none of the disciples of the 5 great clans placed her in their eyes. This was obviously looking down on her. Dongfang Chao and Tian Ruling's Dao artifacts were in their storage spaces. They were prepared to pick them up and engage in a great battle. Qin Yun suddenly said, if you defeat me, you can obtain my Dao artifact armor. How about it? No problem. Yang Yuhao smiled and said, you're quite confident. As he spoke, he was about to walk over. At this moment, a yellow-clothed man walked out from behind him. Big brother, just let little brother do it. There's no need for you to do anything to this kind of trash. The yellow-clothed man had a pointy mouth and monkey cheeks, his face filled with arrogance. Sun Rongfan, take him down within 10 moves. Otherwise, get out of my team. Yang Yuhao nodded. 10 moves? Big brother, you're underestimating me. I can take care of him in 3 moves. Sun Rongfan laughed. Our Sun family's martial arts are also very good. It's enough to destroy this guy. Tian Ruling knew Qin Yun's strength, so she did not say much. She was guarding against Yang Yuhao's attack. With a large saber in hand, Sun Rongfan took a step towards Qin Yun and slashed down. Primordial Dao energy surged out ferociously, causing the soil on the ground to look like it was boiling. Qin Yun raised his hand and grabbed Sun Rongfan's blade with his bare hands. He said with a sneer, I really want to know, how did trash like you survive until now? When Yang Yuhao and the others saw this, their expressions changed. Qin Yun grabbed the saber and released vibration power, shattering the saber into pieces. The fragments of the broadsword were hit by the shockwave and splashed onto Sun Rongfan's body. Sun Rongfan's body was pierced by more than a dozen broken blades. He was in great pain. Big brother, save me! Yang Yuhao immediately said angrily, Qin Yun, he is my little brother. You actually want to kill him? He wanted to kill me. Qin Yun is slightly angry. So what? Whoever my, Yang Yuhao's, little brother wants to kill, they will have to obediently wait for death. After Yang Yuhao finished speaking, he suddenly leaped towards Qin Yun. Tian Ruling, who had been on guard the entire time, charged at Yang Yuhao like a cold gale. At the same time, she punched out. Your opponent is me. Tian Ruling forced Yang Yuhao to retreat. Tian Ruling, you slut. Are you going to become enemies with me for a fellow like Qin Yun? Yang Yuhao's square face was as gloomy as water as he said angrily. Big brother! Sun Rongfan screamed and his head fell to the ground. Sun Rongfan was dead, killed by Qin Yun. Yang Yuhao and his lackeys were immediately infuriated. Qin Yun was provoking them. Chapter 506. The wrath of the slayer Dongfang Chao had been very calm the entire time. Seeing that a great battle was about to break out, he flew out like the wind. He took out a Dao artifact longsword and executed a superb sword technique to fight against the 3 martial artists. The furious Yang Yuhao also began to fight with Tian Ruling. Dongfang Chao used a Dao tool to cut the swords and sabers in the hands of the other party. "Big brother, they have Dao artifacts!" A green-clothed man shouted in fear. The swords and sabers they had obtained from the sword and saber pool were now damaged. This meant that they had lost their qualifications. Yang Yuhao, who was fighting with Tian Ruling, also saw her take out a large saber. The broadsword slashed down with a ferocious force that swept up a wave of cold air, causing Yang Yuhao's entire body to tremble. "Dao artifact! Where did you get a Dao artifact, you slut?" Yang Yuhao was so jealous that his eyes turned red, but his heart was also filled with fear. Die! When Tian Ruling was called a slut, she was infuriated. She slashed down with her saber and chopped off Yang Yuhao's arm. "Just you wait!" Yang Yuhao roared angrily and hurriedly fled. "Big brother, wait for us!" Just as a youth finished speaking, he was killed by Qin Yun's saber. Qin Yun hurriedly took out the Xian royal cannon and aimed at Yang Yuhao. He fired a body-securing cannon. Yang Yuhao, who was flying in the air, was suddenly frozen in place. His heart was filled with fear. When he fell, he also saw Qin Yun attacking him from afar. Tian Ruling had already caught up and stabbed into Yang Yuhao's body, easily breaking through the armor. "You want to kill me?" Yang Yuhao had never thought that he would die. He, who was high and mighty, only decided the life and death of others. Qin Yun also descended from the sky and stepped on Yang Yuhao's face. His lackeys were also killed by Dongfang Chao. Tian Ruo coldly said, "Why can't I kill you? I wish I could exterminate your Yang family." Having his face stepped on by Qin Yun, Yang Yuhao felt extremely humiliated. He constantly struggled in anger. Dongfang Chao walked over and took out Yang Yuhao's Dao core and handed it to Qin Yun. He knew that Qin Yun's Xian royal cannon needed the Dao of alchemy as a cannon shell. You are offending our Yang family." Yang Yuhao felt his Dao core being taken out. He cried out in despair, anger, and fear. "Die!" Tian Ruling chopped down with her saber and beheaded Yang Yuhao before throwing his body into the swamp. Qin Yun picked up Yang Yuhao's storage bag and took out 5 wolf horns. With a look of disdain, he said, "Only 5. Not bad." Dongfang Chao laughed. In the next few days, Qin Yun and company worked together to kill many more horned demon wolves. They had a total of more than 90 wolf horns. "It will be over in 2 days. Let's go back." Tian Ruling felt that it was about time. There were only 3 of them. If they split the 90 wolf horns equally, they would definitely be able to enter the top 15. After half a day of rushing, they arrived at the exit of the Red Evil Desolate Domain. There were actually a few squads waiting here. Yu Wulan, Long Wuchen, and Yang Mutian's teams were all here. Their team members were all injured. "Long Yue, it's your turn." Long Wuchen didn't know why, but he was laughing happily. Long Yue was also a disciple of the Long family. His team had 8 people and their overall strength was not bad. Yang Mutian also laughed. "Long Yue, I really didn't expect that after it's your turn, it would actually be Tian Ruling's trash team." Long Yue was very tall and skinny. He looked like a bamboo pole. "What are you laughing at? Qin Yun has a Dao artifact armor. If I kill him, the Dao artifact will be mine," Long Yue said coldly. Tian Ruling also understood what these teams were doing here. They were waiting here for the returning squads, and then they would rob them. They had agreed to take turns robbing the teams that appeared. Now, it was Long Yue's turn to rob them. "Long Yue, Tian Ruling's strength is not bad. Do you want to fight her to the death?" Yu Wulan laughed. There were many people who wanted to snatch Qin Yun's Dao artifact armor, even the powerful Long Wuchen and Yang Mutian. They also wanted to take action, but they were extremely afraid of Tian Ruling. Tian Ruling's true strength was quite terrifying. "Tian Ruling, just hand over 3 wolf horns." Long Yue gritted his teeth and said, "Otherwise, just wait for your team to be annihilated." Tian Ruling looked at Long Wuchen and asked coldly, "If I kill Long Yue, what will the consequences be?" "The consequences are very serious. You will definitely be wanted by our Long family." Long Wuchen said, "Even if it's me, I will kill you." Tian Ruling fell silent. Clearly, she knew that the consequences would be severe. "Long Yue, I have 20 wolf horns. How many do you have? How about we bet on a battle?" Tian Ruling's words caused everyone to be moved. This was because Tian Ruling and company only had 3 people, yet they had 20 wolf horns. When Long Yue heard this, his face immediately filled with greed as he laughed loudly. "Bet? Bullshit. As long as I take you down, the 20 wolf horns will be mine." "You are forcing me to kill you," Tian Ruling said coldly. Long Yue laughed loudly. "Ha ha, Tian Ruling, even if I kill you, your Tian family will not become enemies with our Long family because of this. But if you kill me, even your Tian family will capture you to appease the anger of our Long family." Qin Yun frowned. He also understood that the Tian family was in a weak position when facing the Long family. Because of this, the people of the Long family were extremely arrogant. "I originally only wanted 3 wolf horns from you, but now, you have to hand over 20 wolf horns," Long Yue said with an excited smile. "Captain, give it to him." Qin Yun sighed softly. "I have no objections." Dongfang Chao also nodded. Even if they gave 20 wolf horns, they still had a lot of them. It was enough to enter the top 15. Tian Ruling's beautiful, wheat-colored face was incomparably gloomy, and her eyebrows were twitching. Finally, in her anger, she took out the wolf horns. 20 wolf horns were handed over to Long Yue. Long Wuchen and Yang Mutian's eyes turned red. This was because the previous batches they had robbed did not add up to that much. "Tian Ruling, I'll give you another mission. Remove the Dao armor from Qin Yun's body." Long Yue took the 20 wolf horns and placed them on the ground to count. Qin Yun was expressionless. From the beginning, he had been suppressing the anger in his heart. Previously, he had been teased by Long Wuchen and Yang Mutian, so he was already extremely angry. Now that he saw these 2 people he hated again, the anger in his heart was ignited once again, but he still suppressed it. However, this Long Yue had used the fact that he was a disciple of the Long family to take an inch and take a foot. Even Tian Ruling, a disciple of the Tian family, could only swallow her anger. "Hurry up!" Long Yue looked at Tian Ruling and shouted, "Don't tell me you want to fight me? If we fight, one of us will definitely die. You can't kill me, so the only one who will die will be you." Tian Ruling could not kill Long Yue. Once she killed Long Yue, she would be abandoned by the family. Furthermore, she would be wanted by both the Tian family and the Long family. Qin Yun could tell that Tian Ruling was in a difficult position and suppressed the incomparable anger in his heart. He slowly took off his outer clothes, revealing the golden soft armor inside. This was the Dao artifact armor. "Tian Ruling, did you sleep with Qin Yun before? For you, he was even willing to hand over a Dao artifact." Long Yue laughed sinisterly. "If he was willing to give me a Dao artifact, I would be willing to sleep with him." Yu Wulan sighed softly. When Long Yue saw that he was about to obtain the Dao artifact armor, he laughed even more arrogantly. He even reached out to touch Tian Ruling's ice-cold and beautiful face. Long Yue looked at Qin Yun and said with a maniacal laugh, "Qin Yun, I'm going to sleep with your woman later, ha ha. You can die now." Tian Ruling's bone-chilling voice was like a cold blade, filled with incomparable killing intent. She fiercely slashed out with her saber, splitting Long Yue's body into 2. "Long Yue, you bastard, I'll chop you up." Tian Ruling's expression was ferocious as her killing intent soared. The saber in her hand danced wildly. Every moment she slashed out dozens of times. She crazily chopped at Long Yue's corpse. Everyone was stunned as they looked at the crazed Tian ruling. Even Qin Yun was somewhat afraid. A moment passed and no one said a word as they watched quietly. Long Yue had already been chopped into mincemeat by Tian ruling. Tian ruling also regained her composure and put away the 20 wolf horns. The saber in Tian ruling's hand is a Dao artifact. Yang Mutian's pupils constricted. Did Qin Yun give it to him? He actually has so many Dao artifacts. Yu Wulan's beautiful face was filled with incomparable envy. Long Wuchen was about to make a move, but he only took 2 steps before he stopped. The disciples of the other aristocratic families all swallowed their saliva. A disciple of the Long family had really been killed, and he had died such a miserable death. You killed our big brother, I want to avenge him. A disciple of the Lu family shouted, Avenge big brother? She's only one person, she can't beat us. Long Yue's 7 team members fiercely surrounded Tian ruling. After Qin Yun put on his clothes, he flew over and punched, piercing through the body of the Lu family disciple. She's not alone. Everyone looked at the hole in the Lu family disciple's body and sucked in a deep breath of cold air. Qin Yun, who possessed the one spirit vein, was actually not weak. An icy cold power surged out from Tian ruling's body, sealing the remaining 6 people in ice. Then, with a wave of his saber, he beheaded the 6 people. Who else wants to steal my team? Stand up. I, Tian ruling, will not rest until he is dead. Tian ruling held her saber and shouted domineeringly. Her beautiful eyes, filled with killing intent, locked onto Long Wuchen and Yang Mutian. Tian ruling, you're finished. Long Wuchen sneered. As long as the Long family's golden dragon bounty is issued, you won't be able to live for more than a year. Qin Yun was cleaning up the dead disciples of the aristocratic families. Suddenly, a tall youth from the Lu family walked out from Yang Mutian's group. He said coldly to Qin Yun, You just killed someone from our Lu family. I will seek revenge on you now. If you have the guts, then don't let a woman protect you. Fight me fair and square. The tall youth pointed at Qin Yun and shouted. I'm sorry, I don't fight with dogs. You are Yang Mutian's loyal dog. He definitely won't allow me to hurt his dog. Chapter 507. A crazy gambling battle. Although the Lu family was inferior to the Yang family, they still had many branches in the spirit desolate. As long as the disciples of the Lu family did not meet anyone from the 5 great clans, they would be able to do as they pleased. But now, a disciple of the Lu family was being mocked by someone who had no background. Furthermore, a disciple of the Lu family had been killed by Qin Yun just now. This was a great humiliation. The tall youth of the Lu family was called Lu Qintong. He said angrily to Qin Yun, It doesn't matter if you look down on me, but since you are so arrogant towards Big Brother Yang, I will destroy you. You really admitted that you are a dog. Qin Yun sneered with his hands behind his back. Yang Mutian's face darkened as he said, Qin Yun, even if he is my dog, he is not someone you can casually make fun of. Quickly kneel down and apologize to my dog. You are not even comparable to my dog. What right do you have to make fun of him? When everyone heard Yang Mutian's words, they were slightly taken aback. Just now, everyone had seen that Lu Qintong was extremely protective of Yang Mutian. However, in Yang Mutian's eyes, he was truly a dog. However, Lu Qintong's face was filled with pride. It was as if being a dog for Yang Mutian was a very honorable thing. Yang Mutian was a disciple of the Yang family and was extremely powerful. It was only because of his bad luck that he was unable to enter the 5 great star sections. His overall level had already reached the standard of a disciple of the 5 great star sects, or even surpassed it. Even if he entered Saber Sword Villa, he would still have a limitless future. In the future, he would definitely be the focus of the Yang family's nurturing. To be able to curry favor with the outstanding disciples of the 5 great clans was something that the disciples of the other aristocratic families yearned for. With the support of the outstanding disciples of the 5 great clans, the disciples of the other aristocratic families would also be able to raise their status in the future and even fight for a higher status. The reason why Yang Mutian did this was to find an excuse to bully Qin Yun. If Qin Yun were to apologize to his dog, it would be such a domineering thing to do. After all, Qin Yun had once slapped Lu Chongqing. He could be considered a character. Yang Mutian, your dog is only a little fierce. Tian Ruling naturally helped Qin Yun. She stood up and said coldly, I can kill him with a single slash. Yang Mutian laughed loudly and said, What, is Qin Yun your dog? You protect him so much. He's my friend. Tian Ruling frowned, her face filled with killing intent. If you dare insult my friend again, I guarantee that your fate will be the same as Long Yue. Do you believe me? Tian Ruling had killed Long Yue and offended the Long family and her own Tian family, so she was definitely not afraid of provoking the Yang family. Now, even Long Wuchen did not dare to provoke Tian Ruling. Long Yue's minced meat was still there. When everyone saw that piece of minced meat, they couldn't help but shiver. Yang Mutian said with a sneer, Qin Yun, you can only be so arrogant because you have a Dao artifact and the protection of Tian Ruling. How about this, you and I, Lu Qingtong, have a fair fight. If you lose and are still alive, kneel down and apologize to Lu Qingtong. Furthermore, get Tian Ruling to give me 20 wolf horns and a Dao armor. If you win, I will give you 20 wolf horns and apologize to you personally. What do you think? Big Brother Yang, this. Lu Qingtong was stunned. He opened his eyes wide and looked at Yang Mutian excitedly. A bet of 20 wolf horns and a personal apology. It could be seen that Yang Mutian believed in Lu Qingtong's strength. Tian Ruling sneered, Yang Mutian, you really are a poor bastard. You want to use 20 wolf horns to fight for a Dao armor? And you want to personally apologize? Who do you think you are? Is your personal apology worth a Dao armor? Even if I chop off your bastard head, it won't be enough to exchange for a Dao armor. Yang Mutian's face twitched in anger. He had never suffered such humiliation before as he looked coldly at Tian Ruling. He shouted angrily, Tian Ruling, don't you think about your current situation? You actually dare to be so arrogant. You won't live for more than a year. Tian Ruling laughed coldly, Yes, I won't live for more than a year. So I don't mind killing you again. If you have the guts, then come and fight me. Long Wuchen, Yu Wulan and the disciples of the Jian family were all gloating at the side. They were all very clear that provoking Tian Ruling right now was not a wise move. At this moment, Yang Mutian was in a difficult position. If he didn't fight, he would be mocked. If he fought, he might die. Yang Mutian looked at Long Yue, who had turned into a pile of minced meat. He gritted his teeth and did not dare to fight. However, he still wanted to regain his face. He said, Qin Yun, if you defeat Lu Qingtong, you will obtain 20 wolf horns. Furthermore, I will kneel down and apologize to you. If you lose, give me 20 wolf horns and a Xian saber. Then, apologize to Lu Qingtong. How about it? Tian Ruling sneered, Do you really believe in Lu Qingtong's strength that much? Yang Mutian's eyes were filled with trust as he looked at Lu Qingtong and said, That's right. If Qin Yun did not rely on a Dao artifact, Lu Qingtong would have been able to destroy him with one hand. Let's fight. Qin Yun was expressionless as he handed the Dao armor and the saber on his back to Tian Ruling. When everyone saw Qin Yun casually hand over the Dao armor to Tian Ruling, they immediately felt that their relationship was not shallow. Qin Yun took off his clothes, revealing his wheat-colored muscles. He was healthy and beautiful, filled with power and filled with a unique charm. Yu Wulan's beautiful eyes flickered as a charming expression appeared on her face. It was as if she wanted nothing more than to throw Qin Yun to the ground. In this battle, he would not use any weapons. He would use his bare hands. Lu Qingtong was originally very confident that he could defeat Qin Yun. Coupled with the fact that he was valued so highly by Yang Mutian, it was as if he had been injected with chicken blood. The power in his body was like a firecracker that was constantly exploding. Lu Qingtong, if you defeat him, I, Yang Mutian, will become your golden orchid. Yang Mutian's words caused Lu Qingtong to tremble with excitement. Many of the aristocratic family's disciples looked at Lu Qingtong with envy. Becoming a golden orchid with Yang Mutian was like ascending to the heavens in a single bound. If that was the case, Lu Qingtong's position in the Lu family would definitely be highly valued. Tian Ruling also wanted to say some words of encouragement to Qin Yun, but she did not know how. After all, Qin Yun did not lack anything. At this moment, Yu Wulan's jade-like face was filled with charm as she said in a numbing voice, Qin Yun, if you win, I'm willing to spend a night with you and give you my virginity. There were many men present and they were all boiling with excitement. This was because compared to Yang Mutian, the reward given by Yu Wulan was undoubtedly the most tempting. Becoming sworn brothers with Yang Mutian was only something that made people envious. However, spending a night with Yu Wulan was something that made people envious and jealous. It was enough to make people go crazy with jealousy. Even Yang Mutian and Long Wuchen wanted to conquer Yu Wulan in bed at all times. Yu Wulan was very strong and her status in the Yu family was extremely high. However, at most, she could only obtain a Xian artifact. It would be difficult for her to obtain a Dao artifact. Yu Wulan had a beautiful face. Sometimes she was charming, sometimes gentle, and sometimes beautiful. When she was in a flirtatious mood, she could kill people without batting an eye and transform into a bloodthirsty demoness. However, Yu Wulan, who made many men go crazy, was actually willing to sacrifice herself for a Dao artifact. Tian Ruling snorted softly. No one knew what she was feeling at the moment. Although she was also very beautiful and very strong. However, her status was far inferior to Yu Wulan's. Furthermore, she had offended the Long family and was being hunted down by the Tian family. Everyone knew that Tian Ruling wouldn't live for long. That was why Yu Wulan took advantage of this opportunity to fight for Qin Yun's favor. She felt that as long as it was a man, they would want her body. She was very confident that her perfect and precious body could intoxicate Qin Yun. Qin Yun's expression was calm as he looked at his opponent. He was unmoved by the soul-reaping reward that Yu Wulan had mentioned. Begin! Yang Mutian shouted. Lu Qingtong was tall and he was a head taller than Qin Yun. He was one of those big-headed martial artists. However, his speed was not slow at all. In just a blink of an eye, he had flashed behind Qin Yun and punched out with both fists. Boom! Boom! As he punched out, purple gold lightning bolts flashed out. The violent lightning transformed into countless purple lightning snakes that surged towards Qin Yun from all directions. High-grade Earth Realm Violent Thunder Explosive Fist. From the looks of it, he should have mastered it to the large success stage. Qin Yun can only dodge. He doesn't dare to face it head-on. I have to say, this Qin Yun's movement technique is quite powerful. He can actually dodge it. It was unknown what level of martial arts Qin Yun had mastered, the Extinction Dragon Palm. In short, it was very strong. However, he did not use it. Instead, he was constantly dodging the Violent Thunder Explosive Fist. After attacking for a moment, Lu Qingtong could not help but roar angrily, "You stinking rat, don't hide." Everyone could tell that Qin Yun did not dare to face Lu Qingtong head-on. He could only rely on his superb movement technique to dodge and deal with Lu Qingtong. Yang Mutian laughed loudly. "Did you see that? This thing is far inferior to Lu Qingtong. Qin Yun doesn't have a Dao artifact. He's definitely going to lose." Everyone also felt that Qin Yun would definitely lose. However, after an hour, Lu Qingtong had not even managed to hit Qin Yun with a single punch. If this continued, Lu Qingtong would probably be exhausted to death. Lu Qingtong's aura was very strong and his Dao power was extremely terrifying. Even Long Wuchen and Yang Mutian did not dare to take it head-on. Although Lu Qingtong's violent thunder explosive fist was very strong, it was useless if it could not hit Qin Yun. Furthermore, it consumed a lot of energy. Tianruo sneered. Yang Mutian, are you prepared to kneel? The genius disciple of the Yang family wants to kneel down to an ordinary martial artist. Ha ha ha. Everyone, who originally thought that Qin Yun would definitely lose, now felt the importance of movement technique. Not only could he escape when he encountered danger, he could also disgust his opponent to death in this kind of martial arts competition. Tianruling, since you believe that Qin Yun will win, why don't we increase the stakes? I'll bet a royal-grade spirit weapon with you. Yang Mutian said, You should also have a royal-grade spirit weapon, right? Of course I do. Tianruling took out a short knife. Yang Mutian also took out a small round shield. Their royal-grade spirit weapons were all relatively small and cheap goods. How about adding another 10 wolf horns? Tianruling said again. All right, that's exactly what I want. Yang Mutian laughed loudly and shouted to Lu Qingtong, Sworn brother, use your strongest power to kill Qin Yun. When Lu Qingtong heard Yang Mutian call him sworn brother, he suddenly shouted in excitement. A burst of purplish-gold light burst out from his body, and a purplish-gold two-headed thunder snake that was as thick as a water jar appeared. The two-headed thunder snake flattened its head and spat out a snake apricot as it bit at Qin Yun like lightning. Chapter 508. He couldn't afford to lose. At the 8th level of the martial Dao, he could transform his Dao energy into nothingness and condense a powerful martial spirit to fight. After reaching the 9th level, the virtual image would become even stronger, as if it was a lifelike object. At this moment, Lu Qingtong had released a two-headed lightning snake. It was a virtual image of a beast martial spirit. This kind of power was comparable to a real rank 9 spirit beast. Normally, when encountering a beast martial spirit, one could only release a virtual image to block it. As soon as the gigantic two-headed lightning snake appeared, it nimbly leaped towards Qin Yun. It spat out waves of black poisonous gas from its mouth. It was extremely terrifying. Everyone was curious about Qin Yun's martial spirit. They believed that he was about to release his martial spirit. However, Qin Yun did not release his virtual image. Lu Qingtong followed the two-headed lightning snake and charged at Qin Yun. Purple gold lightning flickered in an aggressive manner. Qin Yun hurriedly struck out with the Extinction Dragon Palm. The first palm strike was accompanied by a violent thunder and a lion's roar. It transformed into a large black palm shadow that pushed towards the gigantic two-headed lightning snake. The moment the palm shadow appeared, everyone exclaimed in surprise. The martial artists here were all from famous families. However, they could not see through Qin Yun's martial arts. All they knew was that this palm technique was extremely powerful. The primordial Dao force released far exceeded that of many martial artists at the 9th level of the martial Dao. It was even close to the spirit realm. After Qin Yun struck out with a palm shadow, he immediately followed up with a second Extinction Dragon Palm. The virtual image produced by the second palm strike was not in the shape of a palm. Instead, it was a black lion head with its mouth wide open. The lion head flew out and fused with the palm shadow in front of it. Roar! Immediately, a loud roar rang out, setting off a black astral wind. The wind howled like an angry lion's roar. The two palm shadows fused into a ferocious black lion claw that tore the two-headed lightning snake into pieces. The Extinction Dragon Palm, depending on the person who learned it, would show different moves and changes. After Yang Shiyu's guidance, Qin Yun had a deeper understanding of the extinction dragon palm. He struck out with 2 palms and fused the 2 palm forces, making them even more powerful. When the ferocious 2-headed lightning snake charged at Qin Yun, it was instantly defeated. What was frightening was that after the phantom lion claw crushed the twin-headed lightning snake, its might did not decrease in the slightest as it charged towards Lu Qingtong. Lu Qingtong, who had been charging over aggressively, never expected Qin Yun's sudden attack to be so ferocious. Boom! The extinction dragon palm struck Lu Qingtong's body, causing a loud, thunderous sound. Lu Qingtong spat out a mouthful of blood as his body flew backwards. Everyone was in an uproar. Qin Yun, who had been constantly dodging, attacked with such ferocity. Everyone could tell that Qin Yun had deliberately avoided Lu Qingtong. Lu Qingtong, quickly stand up and kill him. When Yang Mutian saw this, his expression changed drastically. As expected, Lu Qingtong stood up abruptly. Qin Yun, I will tear you apart. However, just as Lu Qingtong stood up, he saw Qin Yun charging at him. Boom! Qin Yun's flaming fist shone with an intense light as it struck Lu Qingtong's abdomen. Ah! Lu Qingtong let out a blood-curdling scream as he was sent flying once again, spitting out blood. Qin Yun launched his third attack in quick succession. With a leap, he landed on Lu Qingtong's body. 10,000 horse palm, mountain quaking style, the 2 martial arts merged into one. Combined with the tsunami technique, 9 shockwaves were produced. Boom, boom, boom. 9 consecutive powerful shockwaves pressed down from the sky. Lu Qingtong's body sank deep into the ground. As for the ground around Lu Qingtong, it was also torn apart and the stone soil turned into dust. Everyone looked at Lu Qingtong, who was in the pit, and could not help but shiver. As for Qin Yun, he had returned to Tian Ruling's side at some point in time. He took his clothes and slowly put them on. Lu Qingtong, a powerful 9th-level martial Dao cultivator, had actually been defeated in 3 moves. The aristocratic family disciples here found it hard to believe. For a martial artist of Qin Yun's bloodline to possess such terrifying power was truly hard to accept. One had to know that these aristocratic family disciples all had 5 or more spirit veins. Furthermore, their strength was only about the same as Lu Qingtong's. If they were to face Qin Yun, they would not have any chance of winning. Yang Mutian looked at Qin Yun, finding it hard to believe that this was true. Lu Qingtong had actually been defeated. Yang Mutian felt that Qin Yun only had 1 bloodline. No matter what, he would not be able to defeat Lu Qingtong, who had 6 meridians. That was why he dared to bet. But now, Lu Qingtong had been completely defeated. This meant that he, Yang Mutian, had lost the bet. Qin Yun did not rely on a Dao artifact, but his strength was at the peak of the 9th level of the martial Dao. This level was equivalent to the disciples of the top 9th level of the martial Dao in the 5 great clans. If combined with a Dao artifact, he would be an invincible existence in the 9th level of the martial Dao. Yang Mutian, hand over the 30 wolf horns. Furthermore, kneel down and apologize to Qin Yun. Tian Ruling's eyebrows rose arrogantly as she said complacently. Everyone now understood why a 3-man team like Tian Ruling was able to obtain 30 wolf horns. That was because Qin Yun's strength was extremely terrifying. Qin Yun, I admit that I was mistaken. It's my fault to look down on you just because of the spirit vein. Yang Mutian took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. He paused for a moment before continuing, How about this? I'll become your golden orchid, and we'll write off our previous grudges. How about it? Cut the crap, quickly hand over the 30 wolf horns and kneel down and apologize to me. Qin Yun looked coldly at Yang Mutian, his gaze as sharp as a blade. Yang Mutian, Lu Qingtong is your dog. Yet, you are willing to become sworn brothers with a dog. Who would like you? Dongfeng Chao laughed. Yang Mutian clenched his fists tightly as his eyes trembled in anger. Qin Yun, you despicable and shameless fellow. You must have used a scheme to defeat Lu Qintong. This match doesn't count. Yang Mutian would rather act shamelessly than kneel down to Qin Yun. Furthermore, if he were to hand over the 30 wolf horns, their team wouldn't have much left. It wouldn't be enough. You want to be lazy? Tian Ruling was instantly infuriated. She had bet a royal-grade spirit weapon, but Yang Mutian had no intention of giving it to her. Yang Mutian said with a sneer, because Qin Yun acted shamelessly first and used improper methods to defeat Lu Qintong, it doesn't count. If you don't accept it, then why don't you fight me? Qin Yun narrowed his eyes and said confidently. Humph, I can't be bothered to fight you before I figure out what method you're using. In short, this match doesn't count. Yang Mutian insisted that Qin Yun had won unfairly. After he said that, a gust of cold wind suddenly appeared. Tian Ruling had made her move. With a single step, she arrived in front of Yang Mutian. She released a powerful ice-cold energy that froze Yang Mutian. Qin Yun and Dongfang Chao hurriedly rushed over. Against Yang Mutian's other 6 teammates, Yang Mutian, kneel. Tian Ruling's cold Dao force was like an iceberg pressing down. Yang Mutian was frozen to the point that he was unable to move. His knees bent as he knelt on the ground. The ground was covered in ice. Bang! Yang Mutian was forced to bend over by Tian Ruling's powerful Dao force. His forehead heavily kowtowed, breaking the layer of ice. Long Wuchen, Yu Wulan and the disciples of the Jian family were all stunned as they watched this scene. The other disciples of the aristocratic families were also terrified to the extreme. Tian Ruling withdrew her Dao force and Yang Mutian felt much better. The incomparable humiliation and anger nearly caused him to grind his teeth to pieces. However, in the face of such a powerful force, he was helpless. Tian Ruling's saber rested on Yang Mutian's neck as she coldly said, 30 wolf horns and that royal-grade spirit artifact. Yang Mutian's eyes were filled with hatred as he endured the humiliation and anger. He knelt down and took out the wolf horn and the royal-grade spirit artifact. If you can't afford to gamble, then don't gamble. What a disgrace! Tian Ruling's voice was filled with incomparable contempt. Everyone felt that Tian Ruling had gone completely mad. She had provoked the Long family and now there was another Yang family. Of course, Qin Yun would definitely be hated by the Yang family. Yang Mutian slowly stood up. His voice was filled with killing intent and resentment. Qin Yun, Tian Ruling, kill me if you have the gut. Otherwise, I will make sure you die without a burial ground. Tian Ruling frowned. Her killing intent exploded as she swung her saber. Clang! Just as she was about to slash down with her saber, a young man with eyes full of scars suddenly appeared. This young man used a long sword to block Tian Ruling's saber. This young man was dressed in black and was 1.7 meters tall. He was neither thin nor strong. He held a sharp sword in his hand and blocked Tian Ruling's Dao artifact saber. His eyes were gone, he was blind. Jian Mang, what are you doing? Tian Ruling hurriedly retreated, maintaining a distance from Jian Mang. Jian Mang was blind, but he was extremely terrifying. He was a genius of the Jian family. Moreover, he was one of the few sword cultivators. Qin Yun could sense that the sword in Jian Mang's hand had the same aura as Xie Wufeng's. This Jian Mang was extremely low-key. Previously, he had only been watching from the sidelines without making a sound. Now that he had suddenly made a move, no one could guess what he was thinking. Dongfang Chao hurriedly pulled Qin Yun away from Jian Mang. Everyone knew that Jian Mang, who was in a close combat state, was extremely dangerous. I once owed the Yang family a favor. Tian Ruling, it was you who gave me the chance to repay this favor, so I don't want to kill you. Jian Mang's voice was low and hoarse, but it was filled with a terrifying coldness. Jian Mang, I respect you, so I'll let it go this time. After careful consideration, Tian Ruling said. I, Tian Ruling, will have the chance to kill Yang Mutian in the future. Jian Meng said slowly, Tian Ruling, you can probably live for another year. If you kill Yang Mutian, you might not live for more than 3 months. If I were you, I would step into the spirit realm within a year. If you become a main sect disciple of Saber Sword Villa, you will be able to live for a few more years. Thank you for your suggestion, Tian Ruling said coldly. Now, everyone had a rough understanding of Tian Ruling's strength. He was stronger than Yang Mutian. Long Wuchen had remained silent the entire time, but he was extremely jealous of Qin Yun. He also viewed Qin Yun as his #1 enemy in the future. Young Master Qin, although I, Yu Wulan, am a little girl, I will keep my word. When do you want me? Yu Wulan smiled sweetly, her voice was charming and bone-melting. Everyone's hearts trembled once again. They felt that this was the main event. I can't take it. Qin Yun shook his head. Yu Wulan was unaccountably solicitous, she must have some ulterior motives. Although he did not understand Yu Wulan, he knew that this woman was not simple. Everyone cried out in alarm. He had actually rejected Yu Wulan. Chapter 509. 5 Great Halls. Qin Yun's worry was not without reason. However, many people felt that Yu Wulan truly wanted to dedicate her life. After all, Qin Yun had a Dao artifact. It was completely worth exchanging his body for it. No, my heart belongs to someone else. I already have a wife, Qin Yun said slowly. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Even Tian Ruling did not expect Qin Yun to have a wife. Is she better than me? Yu Wulan's beautiful eyes were filled with hidden bitterness and her voice revealed a trace of sadness. It made one's heart ache. Qin Yun smiled. Then, can I give it to my friends? Yu Wulan did not continue and smiled. I have offended quite a few great powers. If you make friends with me, you will also be affected. Qin Yun looked at Long Wuchen and Yang Mutian and said, It's fine, I've caused no less trouble than you. Besides, do I, Yu Wulan, look like the kind of person who is afraid of revenge? Yu Wulan squinted her charming eyes and smiled gently. However, there was also an extremely strong killing intent. Qin Yun immediately felt that Yu Wulan was the same as Tian Ruling. They were both demonesses who killed without batting an eye. When they were ruthless, they would definitely drive people crazy. Jian Meng smiled. Young Master Qin, Yu Wulan is someone who even killed her father. You must be careful. Jian Meng, don't slander me. I only crippled my father, I didn't kill him. Yu Wulan said lightly. If you speak ill of me again, I'll make a move. Everyone was stunned because they had never known of such a thing. Qin Yun looked at Tian Ruling and saw her nod. Right now, Qin Yun had a certain understanding of the young disciples of the 5 great clans. Yang Mutian was the weakest. Long Wuchen was very strong. He hid his strength the best and was also the most calm. Tian Ruling and Yu Wulan were the kind of people who did things without any regard for the consequences. However, one was cold and domineering, while the other was charming and gentle. As for Jian Meng, Qin Yun did not want to be enemies with him the most. That was because Jian Meng's strength was the most terrifying. Qin Yun understood Xia Wufeng and sword cultivators. He knew that sword cultivators did not need to rely on Dao artifacts to instantly kill people above them. Dongfang Chao looked at Jian Meng and asked, Jian Meng, with your strength, it shouldn't be difficult to enter the 5 great star sects, right? I heard that you can fight 2 martial masters alone. Martial Master was the name of the spirit martial realm. In the spirit desolate, those in the spirit martial realm were called martial masters, and those in the Xian martial realm were called martial lord. When Tian Ruling heard this, she said in surprise, Really? Jian Meng said with a smile, Brother Dongfang is really amazing. How did you know about this? You should have been there too. I didn't notice you. If you find out, I won't be able to stand here. Dongfeng Chao chuckled. I came to Saber Sword Villa for the sword techniques here. The Saber Sword Villa's sword Dao inheritance was much better than the 5 great star sects. You are also a sword user, you will naturally understand in the future. Jian Meng said. Jian Meng, how is the Saber Sword Villa's Saber Dao inheritance? I use a saber. Yu Wulan asked quickly. Saber Daoless. It was not called the Saber Dao. Those who use sabers pay particular attention to the cultivation of the mind. The Saber Sword Villa's Saber Heart inheritance was also very outstanding. You won't regret it. Jian Meng said. Cultivate the mind? Qin Yun thought for a moment. He had never seriously cultivated a decent saber art before. You'll understand in the future. Jian Meng did not explain too much. Time passed quickly and 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. They would be able to leave soon. Someone said in a low voice, Yang Yuhao's team actually did not appear. Could something have happened? Yang Yuhao's team had been completely wiped out by Qin Yun and company. They would never appear again. It had to be said that the teams that entered the Red Evil Desolate Domain were all very strong. Other than Yang Yuhao and Long Yue who were annihilated, the other teams could all come out alive. Everyone left the Red Evil Desolate Domain and sat on the Saber Sword Villa's flying ship. The black-clothed middle-aged man who was driving the ship also knew what had happened inside. He looked at Qin Yun and Tian ruling with surprise in his eyes. When Dongfeng Chao came out, he returned his Dao artifact sword to Qin Yun. Although he wanted it very much, he did not dare to take it nor could he take it. On one hand, he felt that he did not have enough strength to protect this sword. On the other hand, he could not give Qin Yun a good reward. He felt ashamed. After all, he had hitched a ride with Qin Yun and Tian ruling. It was already very good that he could smoothly enter Saber Sword Villa. Qin Yun did not want Tian ruling saber. She had offended many factions. With a good saber, she could protect herself better. At the entrance of Saber Sword Villa, they began to count the wolf horns. Qin Yun and company each had about 40 wolf horns. Their 3-man team had a total of more than 120. Excluding the 30 that they had won, there were more than 90 of them. They had hunted them themselves. They had Dao artifacts, so it was normal for them to have such a result. Long Wuchen's team had a total of 90 wolf horns. Long Wuchen wanted 20 for himself and the rest were divided equally among the 7 of them. Yu Wulan's 6-man team also had 80 wolf horns. She also wanted 20 wolf horns. Yang Mutian originally had 80 but after losing 30, there were still 50 left. In order to enter Saber Sword Villa, Yang Mutian also asked for 20 wolf horns. This made the other team members extremely dissatisfied, but they didn't dare to say anything. Jian Meng's team had the most wolf horns. The 5-man team had 140 wolf horns. Each person had about 30 and successfully entered Saber Sword Villa. Of the 15 people who had passed the examination, 8 of them were from the 5 great clans, which was more than half of them. There were a total of 10 disciples from the 5 great clans. As long as they were still alive, they would be able to pass the examination. Yang Yuhao and Long Yue were dead. Stab the swords you got from the saber sword pool into the door. The black-clothed middle-aged man shouted. Qin Yun threw his broadsword into the distance and stabbed it into the door. The others also used various methods to stab their swords into the 2 doors. This meant that Saber Sword Villa had another 15 disciples. The disciples who did not pass the examination could only drink together in the city and spread the news of what had happened. At noon, in a courtyard of Saber Sword Villa, a new disciple who used a saber stood in the middle of the courtyard. This is the low-grade Saber Academy. A robust old man in a black robe said in a hoarse voice, "From today onwards, the 6 of you will be my students." This black-clothed old man was tall and wore a black robe. His 2 muscular arms were covered in scars. There were even a few scars on his face, giving people a very fierce feeling. My name is Dao Fan, you can also call me Elder Fan. Qin Yun, Tian Ruling and Yu Wulan all use sabers, so they were all here. In addition, there was also a disciple of the Tian family and 2 brothers of the Ji family who also used sabers. Of the 15 people who passed the examination, only 6 used sabers. Dao Fan took out 6 boxes and said, "Inside are the clothes for you. We who use sabers all wear black clothes, and those who use swords wear white clothes." Yu Wulan opened the box and took out a set of black clothes. Her jade-like face was filled with disdain. She did not like this kind of tight black clothes. When Dao Fan saw the disdain on Yu Wulan's face, a smile appeared on his serious face. "Little girl, if you want to wear beautiful clothes, you just need to upgrade my Saber Academy to a Royal Grade Saber Academy. Then I'm relieved. I thought I would have to wear black for the rest of my life." Yu Wulan heaved a sigh of relief. Some Saber Academies have been around for hundreds of years and they are still only low-grade Saber Academies. Dao Fan's words caused the smile on Yu Wulan's face to disappear. Dao Fan continued, "Saber Sword Villa has 5 halls. Saber Hall, Sword Hall, Inscription Hall, Medicine Hall and Elders Hall. From the names, you can tell the origin of these 5 halls. The Saber Hall wears black clothes, the Sword Hall wears white clothes, the Inscription Hall wears blue clothes, the Medicine Hall wears green clothes, and the Elders Hall wears gold clothes. The disciples of the Royal Grade Courtyard can wear whatever they want." Qin Yun and company nodded. "Our Saber Hall has the lowest status." Dao Fan's tone was filled with sorrow. Although Saber Sword Villa has always pursued fairness, there is no absolute fairness in this world. Therefore, you have to be more cautious in your words and actions in Saber Sword Villa. No one would find this kind of thing strange. As long as it was a huge power, there would be all sorts of connections and enemies within it. You have just entered the sect, so get to know each other first. In the next few days, you will have a lot of things to do. I also live in this inferior grade Saber Academy. If you have any problems, you can come find me." After Dao Fan finished speaking, he hurriedly left the courtyard. Although the inferior grade Saber Academy was very big, it looked very shabby. There were 15 rooms in total, and each room had a quiet training room with a bathtub and so on. In the middle of the courtyard, there was a 50-meter wide martial arts arena with a barrier. Although it was an inferior grade Saber Academy, it was not bad in all aspects. "Tian Chueo, do you want to kill me?" Tian Ruling asked when she saw Dao Fan leave. Tian Chueo was a disciple of the Tian family. He had a medium build and a rather handsome appearance. His skin was as white as jade and his long hair was combed very smoothly. It could be seen that he was a man who cared a lot about his appearance. "Even if the family doesn't allow me to kill you, I will still kill you. After all, you killed Long Yue. Killing you will definitely receive a generous bounty from the Long family." Tian Chueo's voice was feminine and filled with killing intent. The 2 men from the Ji family, one tall and one short, had thick eyebrows and big eyes. These 2 men were previously in the same team as Jian Mang. "Ji clan's 2 idiots, what about you? Do you want to kill Tian Ruling and Qin Yun?" Tian Chueo asked. "We are the twin fiends of the Ji clan," the tall man said somewhat angrily. "The strength of the Ji clan's twin fiends is not weak. Tian Chueo, it is very rude for you to make fun of others like this. You better apologize to them." Yu Wulan hurriedly scolded. Tian Ruling said coldly, "Ji clan's twin fiends, if you want to kill me, I won't be polite to you." The tall man cupped his hands at Qin Yun and said, "I am Ji Chongjin. I am Ji Zhangqiang." The short one followed his brother's example. "Nice to meet you too." Qin Yun cupped his fists at them as a polite greeting. "We have our principles. If people don't offend us, we won't offend them." Ji Chongjian said coldly as he looked at Tian Chueo with a trace of anger. Chapter 510. Killing 2 people in a row. Tian Chueo raised his head and laughed. So what if I don't fit in? Are you guys going to kill me? The consequences of killing people in Saber Sword Villa are very serious. Don't worry, I will have the chance to kill you. Tian Ruling wished that she could slash Tian Chueo with her saber. Her words were filled with killing intent. Tian Chueo was not worried at all. He turned around and returned to his room. Let's go back and clean the room, Yu Wulan said. Just as she was about to leave, an old man wearing a golden robe suddenly rushed in. In the Saber Sword Villa, the one wearing the golden robe was the elder. This elder was only a martial master in the spiritual martial realm. In fact, in the Saber Sword Villa, there were very few martial monarchs in the Xian realm. Even if there were, they would be in closed-door cultivation. Of course, there were many martial monarchs in the Saber Sword Villa, but they were all in the 10 million immortal sect. Therefore, the power of the immortal sects was very large, and they absorbed many martial monarchs from large and small sects and families. Even if it was a martial artist from the 5 great star sects, once they stepped into the Xian realm and became a martial monarch, they would also head to the immortal sect. Sixth uncle, why are you here? Yu Wulan shouted in surprise when she saw the golden-robed elder. This golden-robed elder was also from the Yu clan. His name was Yu Liang and he was an elder of the Elders' Hall. Wulan, I've heard about you and Qin Yun. The moment Yu Liang entered, he glared at Qin Yun coldly. Qin Yun, stay away from Wulan. Yu Wulan frowned slightly and hurriedly asked, Sixth uncle, why? Why? You Wulan, are one of the 5 great beauties of the proud star state. You represent the face of our Yu clan. If you want to be with other men, you must obtain the consent of our Yu clan. But you actually want to hand over your body so casually. You have already angered the clan elders of our proud star state's Yu clan branch. Yu Liang's voice was filled with sternness and anger. Qin Yun used his knees to think. He knew that the Yu clan was plotting something. Wasn't it to marry Yu Wulan to a big family? Or marry a disciple of an immortal sect or something? Who I'm with is my business. Yu Wulan's face was as cold as frost as she said angrily. Yu Liang shouted furiously, How dare you? We have already arranged for Lu Chongxing to meet with you. If he is satisfied, you will become a couple and he will also find a way to let you enter the immortal sect. Qin Yun felt that this is a bit of a coincidence. Yu Wulan was actually arranged to be given to Lu Chongxing. This is also the reason why the Yu family is furious, because Yu Wulan and Qin Yun are together and Qin Yun is Lu Chongxing's mortal enemy. Ha ha ha! Yu Wulan suddenly laughed coldly. This is great! It is precisely because of this that I want to be with Qin Yun even more. A piece of trash who was slapped by Qin Yun actually wants to marry me? Pooh! How infuriating! Yu Liang immediately roared in rage. He leaped over and swung his hand at Yu Wulan's face. Tian Ruling and company were all astonished. They never expected that this elder would actually attack Yu Wulan. Yu Liang's skinny palm contained immense power. When he struck down, the ground trembled slightly. That palm was about to land on Yu Wulan's jade face. Suddenly, there was a muffled boom sound. Qin Yun attacked swiftly and violently. His fist emitted black gas and a deep roar of vibrating power as it struck Yu Liang's abdomen. Yu Liang was caught off guard and was sent flying by Qin Yun's punch. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Yu Wulan was also shocked. She didn't even have time to dodge, let alone fight back. After all, the strength of an elder was still very strong. However, Qin Yun's punch had sent Yu Liang flying dozens of meters. After Yu Liang said these 2 words, he spat out a large mouthful of blood. It could be seen that his injuries were extremely severe. Tian Ruling, Ji Changjian, Ji Zhangqiang and Yu Wulan were all shocked. Qin Yun, who was at the 9th level martial Dao, had actually injured a martial master with a single punch. Trespassing into the Saber Academy to hit people, you are asking for a beating. Qin Yun was expressionless as his eyes overflowed with black gas. His fists were throbbing with black lightning. Black martial spirit. Black thunder martial spirit? Ji Chongjian sucked in a breath of cold air. The higher the level of the martial spirit, the stronger the power it released. Even in the spirit desolate, a black martial spirit was extremely rare, not to mention a berserk black thunder martial spirit. And the most shocking thing was that a person with a single spirit vein could actually break the Black Soul Curse and step into the 9th level of the martial Tao at such a young age. In the Spirit Desolate, they would usually gather the power of the entire clan to help break the Black Soul Curse. You all. Just you wait. Yu Liang was so angry that his arms trembled as he pointed at Qin Yun and Yu Wulan. Old thing, you actually want to hit me? Yu Wulan's beautiful eyes flashed with a cold light as her beautiful figure flew over like the wind. A long saber suddenly appeared in her hand and she slashed at Yu Liang's arm, chopping it off. Ah! Yu Liang immediately roared, "You little slut! Shut up!" Yu Wulan flew into a rage as her jade-like face was filled with killing intent. She swung her saber again and chopped down on Yu Liang's shoulder, chopping off his other arm. Yu Liang never expected that he would be severely injured by Qin Yun's punch. Qin Yun's punch was accompanied by the power of thunder and lightning. It violently attacked the Tao core and the heart. Without any precautions, even the spirit martial realm would not be able to withstand it. And now, Yu Wulan had come over to cut off his arms. Kill him! It was unknown if Tian Ruling's killing intent had been aroused, but she suddenly flew over and chopped off Yu Liang's head with her saber. The Ji family's twin fiends swallowed their saliva as they looked at each other with faces full of fear. Yu Wulan hurriedly took out a small furnace and stored Yu Liang's corpse inside. Then, she quickly cleaned up the bloodstains here. Ka. Suddenly, someone opened the door and came out. It was Tian Chueo. He had not come out from his room, but he had a rough idea of what had happened outside. The moment Tian Chueo came out, he was about to fly into the air and escape. However, he was hurriedly knocked down by the Ji family's twin fiends. You all, just as Tian Chueo opened his mouth, Tian Ruling shot out a ball of air, condensing into a block of ice, and stuffed it into his mouth. You go to hell too. Yu Wulan's speed was extremely fast. With a single slash, she swiftly chopped off Tian Chueo's head. Tian Ruling gripped her saber tightly and said unhappily, "He's a member of my Tian family. He should have been killed by me. Didn't you kill that old thing as well? We're even." Yu Wulan chuckled. Qin Yun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. These two women were even more reckless than him. He felt that it wasn't a big deal to injure Yu Liang and let him leave. After all, Yu Liang was so arrogant here. However, he never expected that Yu Wulan would suddenly go over and chop off both of Yu Liang's arms. Then, Tian Ruling went over and chopped off Yu Liang's head. All of this had happened too suddenly. He had not expected it at all. The Ji family's twin fiends were also worried that they would be silenced, so they went over to stop Tian Chueo, proving that they were willing to join Qin Yun and company. Yu Wulan, who was in a fit of anger, was unable to kill Yu Liang. When she saw that Tian Chueo had been stopped, she went over and killed him with a slash. They quickly dealt with the scene and eliminated all of Yu Liang's aura, erasing all of the remaining auras from the battle. If we ask about these things, we can just say that we don't know. Yu Wulan's face was filled with a sweet smile. She was extremely happy that she had just killed two people. All of you go rest. Tian Ruling carried her box and returned to her room. Qin Yun opened the box that Dao Fan had given him and took a look. Inside was a low-grade spirit artifact saber, a few sets of black clothes and a pass that required blood to recognize its master. The five of them returned to their own rooms. In Saber Sword Villa, killing an elder and a disciple who had just entered the sect was an extremely incredible matter. However, Qin Yun and company acted as if nothing had happened. They calmly returned to their rooms to rest. No one would have ever thought that an elder would be killed by a new disciple who had just entered the sect. Late at night, Qin Yun, who was lying on his bed, suddenly opened his eyes. He saw Tian Ruling and Yu Wulan quietly enter through the window. They were all wearing the black tight-fitting attire of the Saber Hall, and judging from the curves outlined by the tight-fitting attire, the two women each had their own merits, fiery and captivating. Of these two women, one was ice-cold and the other was charming, but they were both bloodthirsty. Qin Yun sat up abruptly and asked, "What are you guys doing sneaking around? Elder Fan hasn't returned yet. Let us ask you, do you want to kill the Ji clan's twin demons?" Tian Ruling asked in a deep voice. Although the two of them stopped Tian Chueo, they did not make a move from beginning to end. They can still escape the crime. Yu Wulan nodded. Qin Yun shook his head. They have been in the room the entire time. If they really had any other thoughts, they would have run away long ago. Don't worry, these two people are very reliable. Otherwise, they wouldn't have become Jian Mang's team members. Jian Mang is blind but not blind. He is very good at looking at people. Also, if the two of them are also missing, then we will be even more suspected. Yu Wulan glanced at Tian Ruling and said, "Then I'll listen to you." "Alright." Tian Ruling also hurriedly jumped out of the window and returned to her room. "Young Master Qin, do you want me to sleep with you for the night?" Yu Wulan's face was immediately filled with charm as she twisted her body towards Qin Yun. "No need, you should go accompany Tian Ruling." Qin Yun smiled and gestured towards the window. Yu Wulan grumbled softly as she stomped her feet and jumped out of the window. "These two women are really a headache." Qin Yun stood by the window and looked at the bright moon in the sky. He muttered, "Big Sister Yang, what are you doing?" As he spoke, he took out a human skin mask and quickly put on the appearance of Tian Chueo before leaving the Saber Academy. The next morning, Qin Yun and company stood in the middle of the courtyard. When Dao Fan returned, he did not see Tian Chueo, so he asked where he had gone. Qin Yun and company naturally pretended to be at a loss before shaking their heads and saying that they did not know. Just as Dao Fan's face was filled with doubt, a white-clothed middle-aged man suddenly walked in and said coldly, "Dao Fan, a disciple saw your academy's Tian Chueo sneaking around outside last night." Qin Yun had gone out pretending to be Tian Chueo last night. He was proficient in artifact forging, so refining a human skin mask was not a problem at all. Chapter 511. Common Saber. The news of Yu Liang's death caused Dao Fan to be dumbstruck. "Impossible!" Yu Wulan's face was also full of surprise as she pretended to be shocked and shouted. The middle-aged man in white sighed. "But he is indeed dead. His life talisman burned yesterday." The life talisman was a special kind of talisman. After it was refined, as long as a drop of blood was placed on the life talisman, once the owner died, the talisman would self-destruct. "How did he die?" Dao Fan asked. "I don't know. He died yesterday, but he did not leave Saber Sword Villa yesterday. I have already arranged for people to investigate the specific situation." The middle-aged man in white said, "Tian Chueo went out last night. Is he not back yet?" Dao Fan shook his head. "No. A new disciple is running around everywhere. If he comes back, he must be punished." After the white-clothed middle-aged man finished speaking, he hurriedly left the Saber Academy. Dao Fan said, "I have a simple rule in the Saber Sword Villa. You are not allowed to fight in private. Once you find out, you will be severely punished. On the last 3 days of every month, you can leave the villa. In the villa there are also markets and shops. They are located in the western part of the villa. From time to time, our Saber Sword Villa will have a martial competition. Participating in the martial competition will give you rewards. If you want to obtain more cultivation resources, you must put in enough effort. You will know in the future. Following that, Dao Fan took out a few booklets and handed them to Qin Yun and company. The common saber technique is the best martial art that I have mastered. It's a low-grade Earth Realm martial art. There are two parts, the mental cultivation method and the saber style. I need to learn them together. Now, I will guide you in learning the mental cultivation method. Qin Yun and company immediately listened attentively. The mental cultivation method of the common saber technique is very profound. Different people will have different understandings of it. This booklet was thicker and bigger. However, there was only one page of the mental cultivation method. The rest were all saber techniques. When using the saber, the main thing is to cultivate the mind. There is no unified path. Sword cultivators mainly cultivate the illusory sword Tao essences, and they are all different. Cultivating the saber heart is the same as cultivating the martial heart. It can increase your understanding of various saber techniques. You can quickly master all kinds of saber skills. Dao Fan flipped open the booklet and continued to explain. It was only one page of content, but Dao Fan talked about it for an entire day. It only ended at night. I've told you everything I can. Next, you need to practice the moves according to your own understanding of the mental cultivation method. You have all kinds of saber techniques. These saber techniques are the most ordinary, but they are very commonly used. If you can familiarize yourself with the various saber techniques inside, it will be very easy for you to learn other saber techniques in the future. Moreover, I can even combine all kinds of saber dharma forms to perform it. Alright, you guys better digest today's knowledge. I have to go find Tian Chueo. Dao Fan looked at the bright moon in the sky and hurriedly left the Saber Academy. Qin Yun and company knew that Tian Chueo was already dead and could not be found. Low rank, 9th Saber Academy. Qin Yun came to the door and looked at the sign. Let's go back to our room, Yu Wulan said. After they returned to their respective rooms, they did not rest but continued to look at the common saber art. Inside the secret room, Qin Yun held a saber in his hand and executed all kinds of saber techniques from his memory. There were many saber techniques and they were also very complicated. There were all kinds of moves. Although it looked very simple, it was very practical. It was not fancy at all. It was the simplest of moves. There are a total of 100 pages and each page has a dozen or so moves. As long as you are familiar with them, it will be fine. I should be able to familiarize myself with it in 4 or 5 months, right? Qin Yun spent the night familiarizing himself with a page of saber technique. At dawn, Dao Fan, dressed in black, stood in the courtyard early in the morning. His expression was solemn, filled with doubt and helplessness. Old Fan. Qin Yun walked out of his room and greeted Dao Fan politely when he saw him. The Ji clan's twin demons, Yu Wulan and Tian Ruling, also walked out of their rooms and greeted Dao Fan. Tian Chueo is dead. The Tian clan has sent news. Dao Fan sighed softly. In 2 consecutive days, 2 people have died. Furthermore, they died in our Saber Sword Villa and they are both from the 5 great clans. The reason why the Tian clan was sure that Tian Chueo had died was probably because of the life talisman. Also, the higher-ups want to send you out of the city to escort a batch of swords to the ancient city and insert them into the saber sword pool. When Dao Fan mentioned this matter, his face was filled with helplessness. Old Fan, it shouldn't be our turn to do such a thing, right? We have only just entered the sect. Yu Wulan had also guessed something. There's no other way, that's what the higher-ups have arranged. If you successfully complete it, our 9th Saber Academy will also receive 500 contribution points. Tian Ruling said coldly. There must be people from the Long family waiting for me outside the city. I'll take responsibility for what I've done. I'll block them, you guys escort the sword. The upper echelons of Saber Sword Villa definitely had people from the Long family, which was why they had arranged for Qin Yun and company to leave the city. This way, they would have a chance to deal with Tian ruling. If we successfully return this time, and they send you out one after another, I will also protest to them. Old Fan also felt that Qin Yun and company had great potential. If he led this team well, he would also be able to reap great benefits. 2 large carriages were placed at the door, carrying sabers and swords respectively. These swords and sabers had been specially refined and could not be placed into storage magic treasures. They were inserted into the ancient city's saber sword pool for the purpose of conducting assessments or various competitions. The Ji brothers volunteered to pull the carriage. They also knew that the journey to the ancient city would definitely be extremely dangerous. The saber sword ancient city was not far from the new city. They could reach it after exiting the city gate. Qin Yun and company arrived at the city gate. Just as they were about to leave, an old man suddenly appeared. Grandfather! The Ji family's twin fiends immediately shouted in shock. Let's go, don't get involved in this. The old man grabbed the Ji brothers and hurriedly left the city. Yu Wulan and Tian Ruling looked at each other. They were worried that the 2 brothers would reveal their secret. Once we leave the city, we might encounter all sorts of dangers. Qin Yun said with a frown, why don't we go out at night? When Tian Ruling heard this, she fell silent for a moment. She said, they are all here for me. You guys can focus on completing the mission. Leave this to me. After she finished speaking, an ice-cold aura surged out from her body. This wild and arrogant woman was not afraid in the face of death. Qin Yun used his mental power to control the 2 carriages to drive to the city gate. They were all disciples of Saber Sword Villa. Even if they blocked the road, no one dared to say anything. Qin Yun and Yu Wulan stood inside the city gate and did not leave the city. Just as Tian Ruling left the city, a middle-aged man and a handsome young man with sword-like eyebrows slowly floated over from afar. They were wearing golden robes embroidered with dragons. It was obvious that they were from the Long family. The young man with sword-like eyebrows looked rather thin and was not as tall as Tian Ruling. He seemed to be a bit smaller than her, but his face was filled with cold arrogance and anger. Tian Ruling, I am Long Yanwei's elder brother, Long Yanwei. The young man with sword-like eyebrows took out a long sword and pointed it at Tian Ruling. Today, I will capture you and bring you back to my Long family's gate to behead you. There were also quite a few people at the city gate. Long Yanwei seems to be a disciple of the Wood Star Palace. He is very familiar with Lu Chongxing. That man should be Qin Yun, right? He has offended Lu Chongxing. I wonder if Long Yanwei will take this opportunity to take revenge. The middle-aged man beside Long Yanwei should be his father, a martial monarch of the spirit realm. When Qin Yun heard everyone's words, he slowly clenched his fist. Long Yanwei, do you want to defeat me fair and square? Or do you plan to join hands with your father to capture me? Tian Ruling was not afraid in the slightest as she looked coldly at Long Yanwei and asked. We all cultivate the martial Tao, so we naturally have to use martial arts to subdue others. Don't use Tao artifacts during the martial arts competition. If you lose to me, hand over the Tao artifact to me. How about it? Long Yanwei's eyes were filled with fanaticism. If he obtained the Tao artifact, his strength could be said to have increased by leaps and bounds. Don't make things difficult for my 2 friends and I'll agree to it. Tian Ruling looked at Qin Yun and Yu Wulan behind her. Don't worry, I definitely won't make things difficult for them. Long Yanwei sneered. Qin Yun is Brother Lu's. Naturally, Brother Lu will deal with him personally. Tian Ruling said to Qin Yun and Yu Wulan, both of you, escort the sword away. Wulan, you stay here. I will escort the sword and saber. You can attack based on the situation. After Qin Yun finished speaking, he controlled the 2 carriages to drive out of the city gate. Saber Sword Villa usually did not care about this kind of personal grudge. As long as they did not cause trouble in Saber Sword City, Saber Sword Villa would not interfere. Qin Yun controlled the 2 carriages and sped towards the ancient city in the distance. In the open space outside the city gates, Tian Ruling and Long Yanwei had also begun their battle. Tian Ruling was very strong, defeating Long Yanwei was not a problem. Qin Yun believed in Tian Ruling's strength. However, he was still worried that the Long family would play tricks. He was afraid that their spirit martial realm martial master would be shameless. In the spirit desolate, if one's cultivation was much higher than others, they would not make a move. Especially when there were many people around, they would not do such a thing. Bullying a martial artist with a lower cultivation was a very shameful thing. Qin Yun dragged the 2 carriages and flew through the air as fast as he could. It took him a full 2 hours to transport the sword and saber to the side of the sword and saber pool and insert them inside. This is my maximum speed, but it will still take me about 4 hours to go back and forth. Qin Yun hurriedly returned. He was extremely worried for Tian Ruling. Just as he was flying rapidly in the air, a powerful force suddenly pressed down on him. Boom! A powerful force bombarded Ba Xie from the sky. Qin Yun was struck to the ground, creating a huge crater. He crawled out of the pit and saw 4 people surrounding him. Who are you people? When Qin Yun saw an old martial master at the spirit martial realm, he immediately became vigilant. We are from the Liu family. You killed 2 of our Liu family's disciples during the assessment. Do you think we'll let you live? The old man at the spirit martial realm had a cold smile on his face. The disciples of your Liu family are just dogs for others. I thought that your Liu family didn't value me, so I killed them. When Qin Yun saw that there was only one martial master at the spirit martial realm, he was not afraid at all. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.